evangelical speaking at big churches in the Amazon. They were going to bring me down there. They called, and you know what they said? You need to stay. When I came out and they were all attacking me, you need to stay in your country and save it. You know, you need to get the word out, because if it goes out here, they don't have a chance. That's why he was here yesterday. That's why.
Morning, everybody. If anyone's here, go ahead and let me know if there's echo coming in. We are just messing around with the feed here because the feed is completely messed up. Let's see if I can hear him in my ear. I cannot. Let me see if I can hear him here so that you guys are not interrupted by him. Oh, I know. I've shut off his audio, so it's not going to happen either way. Hold on. Let's see.
This is stuff we've announced here. This all happened during these 3 days. This is a spiritual battle of epic proportions. We knew this. They're all coming together. All this stuff is revealing itself, everybody.
There we go. Let me turn him down for you guys.
This is when I told you the mistakes they made when they took the two senators in Georgia. I prayed that they would take them both.
You be quiet for a second. Your Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams. We're watching this absolute spoof. Big news on the YouTube front, but I'm not even going to share it right now. Basically, I didn't get my monetization back. We'll explore that later today. I'm just waking up. I'm just drinking my bigly cup of coffee, COVFEFE. And what's going on? Let's see. It's the day before my birthday, so it's my birthday eve, everybody. And I don't know if I'm even broadcasting. Let me check in on the chat room and see if it's functioning properly here. Let me get the chat room down. Let me put the chat room up. There we go. So can you guys hear him okay? No, you can't, because I've turned off his volume. So can I just say this? I desperately need, and I'll post this on Twitter later, I desperately need someone who's willing to sleep with me. I do. I am fully willing to admit this publicly. I am a human being with needs. I need someone who's willing to be in bed with me throughout the night, just to watch me and make sure I don't sleep on my right side. Because when I sleep on my right side, I wake up in pain. Because I'm 51 and 364 days old. And if I sleep on my right side, I wake up in pain because my body is a fucking idiot. So anyway, I'm desperately seeking somebody who's willing to sleep with me. I'll put that up on Twitter just without any context and see what we get. Currently, I'm in Beverly Hills, California. That's where I want to be. Living in Beverly Hills. So I've been watching Mike for a few minutes here, and he's been going on, and it's the media, and also the media, and the elections, and math, and tech, China, and Italy. And if you're willing to sleep with me, let me know.
Around with them, they'd just given them back. And what is the odds that it says martial law on there, that's the one piece sitting there? And everyone's going, wow, that's, what a terrible thing. That's the reason I'm sitting here talking, because the media was never going to talk to me. But
there's a reason?
When he took that picture, I looked over the hill, and they were running like buffalo.
Just got done telling everybody that he was on Jimmy Kimmel, which he mentions about every 5 minutes. But the media is not willing to talk to him, which is sad.
And down the hill, and they...
you know what? He's a pillow salesman. Would he be willing to sleep with? You know what? I'm not even going to put that out to the universe, because that's the way the universe works. In about 5 days, I'm going to wake up and Mike Lindell's going to be sleeping beside me. By the way, I don't know if I've ever shown you guys, but I got a MyPillow commercial changed. I fixed it. They actually edited the commercial because of me. I made a difference in the world. That was probably the big announcement they were going to do at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. That was probably it, but they got sidetracked by this whole Colorado Secretary of State, Mesa County, Kern County, what all that.
Plane in the middle of the night to get there, not even know if we could get in the White House. The odds of getting in there were, I couldn't just call and say, I want to go in the White House. People, that's a preconceived notion. I didn't have the president's number then. People,
now you do.
We were friends from afar. We hadn't sat down. We hadn't sat down together since the first meeting in August 15th of 2016. Where we had one-on-one. And we get
It's
across
almost the
to
anniversary.
Virginia. There was 8 of us, and we're sitting there in Virginia. And all of a sudden, my daughter, I look at my phone, and she says, "Get out of there." It was the picture of me holding it, said martial law. And I look at that, and I'm going, no. Now remember, this is just days after January 6th.
Yeah, I remember.
Now you think of that. Where am I going, right? Everyone else, if everyone else had that, you would have started bawling on the thing going, it's over for me, right?
I'd be bawling on the thing.
The odds of that
I'm a
happening,
baller.
I always look back
I wish it
and
was a
say,
shot caller. I wish it would
I look
call
at
her.
God and say, the odds of this happening is 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. This could never happen to anyone. And when
the
you
difference
add
between a million
together, when do
and
you
a
consider
billion
a miracle?
is literally a billion.
And I knew right there that was a miracle.
Right there?
And you would say, well, how is that a miracle?
How's that a miracle?
Well, what happened after
that?
The media from that day forward, it's never let up for me. Every single moment from the day I get up, it's 18 hours a day. We are so blessed that I have great people at my pillow.
We get 24 hours in a day, the rest of us.
And just put all in for our country.
Where do you go?
And that's the platform. But just think, if they hadn't seen that martial law, do you know what they would have done?
What?
They wouldn't have said one word to me. They were not talking to me, the media. Does everybody understand that? That platform, even having a platform
and now you can't get on the media.
Everybody knowing me because of millions
but now
of
they're talking to you?
And having that platform, and here I have something so important to our country, but it doesn't
Martial
matter
law.
what you have if your truth will not get out, if everybody's suppressing it. That's what we were up against.
I don't know why the chat room isn't updating.
When Jimmy Kimmel said, why would you of everybody get that? Well, do you ever think maybe God chose that for such a time as this?
No, I've never thought that about
God,
you.
I give God the glory.
Hold on.
I couldn't, I couldn't talk to two people when I
it.
came out of addiction. I couldn't talk to 2 people. If you'd have told me my calling, when I was not either high or drinking or something, I couldn't talk to people. I had a wound from childhood, and that's where addiction comes from. You get traumatized, or you get something happens in childhood. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old.
Something in your genes. Got it.
Back in 1969, when divorces weren't common. And you know what? When they divorced, I got put into a new school I'd never been to.
I don't know what's
going on.
going
I felt like an outcast. I was the only kid from a broken home there.
You did crack because you had to go to a new school. I get it now.
I felt
that happened to me.
I got quiet. I wouldn't talk to people I didn't know. I would do things to show off instead of, to try and fit in, like jump out of a moving bus window.
I went to new schools 9 times, which is why I do crack now.
This is the way it went.
See? This all makes sense. I feel like I'm learning things
the devil's
today.
lies that got in there saying you're not good enough, you're unworthy.
Yeah.
You can't get a fear of rejection. You can't get rejected if you don't talk to people. And that's the way I had become. And I got to my class reunion. I had dropped out of college in the first quarter. And I got to my class reunion.
You went to college?
And all of them were finishing
You graduated
college.
high
They just
school?
finished college, started families. They had advanced their careers. I'd worked at a drive-in movie and and a grocery store. And I had fired at the grocery store because I was telling the owner, telling him that he's running it wrong. He says, Mike, why don't you get your own business sometime and run it the way you want to run it?
Okay. And spend all your money making
I didn't like
speech.
things like if somebody died. One of the things was
millions of dollars a week.
In that corporate America, in that world, if it's
by the way, I've said this before.
If it's your parents.
And I'm going to say it again. He's underwater. He's spending way too much money and not generating enough revenue to pay for all of this. He is leveraged to the hilt, which is his history. He just told us a story a few minutes ago about how he would get in gambling debt to the mob, and the mob would come looking for him, and he would be hiding in the corner, and they wouldn't find him, and then they'd come back later, and they'd find him, and things would get physical. So that's
a critical injury or something, or critical.
This is what he do.
They can, they have life-threatening. We have workman's comp, sure, but the workman's comp doesn't cover. This is at home. We pay them while they're out, whatever it is. We pay them their regular check.
Yeah,
the last
Dominion's going to take the rest of this.
If they have a loved one that's hurting,
in case you haven't heard, yesterday a judge decided that Dominion's lawsuits against Lindell and the Kraken and Giuliani, they can all go forward. So the $1 billion is coming out of their pockets.
500 of my employees.
Giuliani apparently is struggling for funds. I don't know. He's on. You can get yourself a cameo from you. Rudy Giuliani will say whatever you want him to say for $199 on Cameo right now. That is $300 less than Don Jr. That's it. And I would much rather have Rudy Giuliani say something for me on Cameo than Don Jr.
I'll get that call.
Or should I say, I'd much rather have him deliver a personal message for Mr. Meoff, Mr. Jack, first name Jack, than Don Jr.
Addicted, we would pay him while he is in there getting help, paid him to go in there and get help. So because the excuse would be, well, I can't get off work. I can't take off work because I'm supporting my family. No, you might be an addict and you're not supporting them. You need help. You go in and we pay them while they're in there.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about their family, so they can get the help they need. But
I think he's talking about paying people while they're in drug rehab, which should be part of Trump's tremendous healthcare plan, which I understand is coming out in,
because right now everybody's out there
reinstated tomorrow. So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
But go back to that class reunion. I got to that class reunion.
So the 27th?
And I went and I said, I hear all these stories from them, but I took over the reunion. I said, yeah. I said, I know.
You took over the reunion?
I was on my motorcycle.
Was there
I got
insurrection?
18 traffic tickets out running the cops. And then I was going skydiving, riding my motorcycle. I'm telling this at the class reunion. Riding.
If you have 18 traffic tickets, you have not outrun the cops. That's if you have the ticket, it was unsuccessful. And if you do that 18 times.
So I'm telling this story.
Yeah.
And taking over this. And then I go, and then I owed the mafia. They came to my house. Look at this bag. It's in my book. Look at this bag. Pay by tonight or things are going to get very physical. The book.
This is a next level thing here for this guy. He didn't go to his high school reunion and he was like the most successful guy there. He went to his high school reunion and he took over the thing. He took over his high school reunion. Most people go to the high school reunion and they brag about things that they haven't accomplished in real life. Okay, to the people there at the high school reunion, just because they're like everybody else is so successful, I got to pretend I'm successful too. He not only goes there and pretends he's successful, he then has to tell the world, literally, that he was really successful at his high school reunion. He is damaged.
In our country, I'm going to tell you about. I spent a lot of time in Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
With my yes, the dealers. I said, other than my one drug dealer's mom, this Christian lady, she prayed in the corner for all of us, all the time.
Okay.
And
she prayed in the corner. And the corners, by the way, the best place to play. Pray.
You know, when they sit there and tell us that we're a divided country, you guys have all heard the story. When I went in 2008,
half of us don't believe that we're a divided country.
I was up for 14 days as on crack. And I'm sitting down there, and all three of the drug dealers, I come out of the thing, the biggest drug dealers in Minneapolis. I come out,
the biggest drug dealers in Minneapolis.
And I go, what are you guys doing? They knew of each other, but they had never met.
Oh.
And they said,
so you got a drug dealer symposium going on right there.
Go, you've been up for 14 days, and we're cutting you off. I go, what is this, an intervention? And they go, call it whatever you want, Mike. Now, two of them left. And they went down the streets. I find out later, if you see some crazy white guy with a mustache, you don't sell him anything, or we're gonna, you're gonna get it.
Some crazy white guy with a mustache.
The one guy stayed up and he sat.
The one guy in Minneapolis
I'm down
with
to
a mustache.
A few crack rocks, and I'm carpet farming. Any crack addict don't know what that is. Scraping my pipe.
Yeah.
And I sat there, and finally he fell asleep. And I stuck down the streets of Minneapolis, right where all the evil was and all the fires that are burned out down there. My friends' buildings got burned there that I have from back then. They had started new lives, then they got burned out.
Yeah.
But I come back, I went down to the streets of Minneapolis at 2:30 in the morning, and I couldn't buy crack anywhere. They looked at me and they backed off as I'm sitting there going, hey, I need some, get some crack. I was offering $100 for $5.
Hey, I need to get some
and they're
crack.
going, it didn't matter. You realize these are addicts.
I wish I was recording
too.
all of this, because this is all gold.
They got that word out and had that much thread over them. So I came back upstairs.
Yeah.
I came back upstairs. And he was waiting up for me. And these are the words he said.
Yeah.
I would always tell them that I was going to quit someday and come back and help them. And I said to him, he goes, man, you've been promising us for years that this My Pillow thing is just a platform for God, and you're going to quit someday and come back and help us get out of this addiction world we're living in. And then he goes, give me your phone. I'm going to take a picture. You're going to need it for that book you've been telling us about you're going to write someday. It's on the cover of my book, that picture.
Oh, so he was a talker?
2 of those guys work for me now. They're born-again Christians.
2 of the crack dealers work for him. Hold on.
And as I look at that, the point being is, we're not, what they've tried to do, we're not a racist country. We're not racist. We're all people.
Here we go. I got it.
Right now, conquer and divide and all these things. You look at what happened in Minneapolis when they burned out all those places. Those weren't people, my friends that lived down there. Those were their businesses. Those were their businesses. They had got off drugs and changed their life. Do you know right now, and I said, remember when I said from the Rose Garden when the president had me out there, and I said, a nation
you know what, we're just going to leave this up here because it's pretty much the same.
And we need to get back in the Word and our Bibles.
He's still exactly the same
spend time
guy.
with our families.
Watch.
And we prayed for grace. We said, God, please give us grace. Well, you know what? They did a poll in a prison in Kansas. And in this poll, it said, how many inmates that are in there? Now, those are felons where the parents got together, got married,
Lindsay!
planned to have their baby, and were still married while that guy was in there. What do you think? 0%. You get up to county level jail, and
0% of people had their baby daddy go to prison and stayed married. You mean people who found out that their husband was a criminal decided not to be with their husband?
Communities where I lived it, where the grandmother is the
black
matriarch.
People. I understand now.
The father in the 60s used to be the patriarch. And it's not just because they're black. I lived it. I came from that broken home. So I lived the black experience. And all the stuff that manifested to my addiction and my thing and getting off course. God bless me because I was a functioning addict. I'll tell you what out there, anyone out there that says addiction is just someone in the streets and homeless, no. Addiction, it doesn't matter how many forks you eat with. It's everywhere. And I'll tell you right now,
typically one fork in my mouth at a time.
And all the fentanyl and stuff coming in, now you got, I always wondered, back when I was doing cocaine, I said, what if I knew that there was poison in it? Would I still do it? And this actually happened to me in Mexico when I told you about the sword. You know what? I did it, and I knew it was poison.
Wow.
And this is what's happening to our children.
Can you imagine being stuck in a room with this guy for half an hour?
Taking drugs, and they know their friends might have died, their family members might have died. All these things going on.
And this sounds, what he's describing here, people that keep doing something even though their friends might have died, their family members might have died. All of that, just say COVID. Same experience. Basically, all of the country that won't get the vaccine, they're all addicts. They're just addicted to COVID.
Everybody was in their happy place. We were even saying Merry Christmas.
I'm in my happy place.
And you know what? At that point, though, people weren't looking for hope because it was here. People don't look for something for
Happy birthday, Eve.
They don't look for hope when things are all going good. It's like praying for God. You have reactionary prayers. You know how many reactionary prayers I had in my life?
17.
I'd get into bed. Please, God, get me out of this. I'll never do it again.
18.
Please, God, get me out of this. I'll never do it again.
From unsuccessfully
running away from
the
cops. It would always happen to me. I would get through it.
Yeah.
I almost became complacent. Do you all know you see me wear my cross on TV? And you know what?
I've never seen you wear a cross.
I wasn't doing it to sell pillows. I wore it in the crack houses when I was there. I wanted something. When I met Kendra, she had something I didn't have. She had a personal relationship with Jesus. She had that personal relationship. I didn't get saved until February 18th, 2017, everybody. 2017.
Wow. Wait, he's been making My Pillow commercials way before that.
And how did I get saved? Because I seen stuff. Remember, I used mathematics to prove God exists. I go, this couldn't happen to anybody. My friends looked at when I was in the White House when the president invited me that time. I walked around the table. First time I walked in the White House, I'm going, I can't even believe with my past I can even get within 20 feet of the White House. I get invited in there.
Yeah.
And well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. In
Oh, really?
1973,
There's a
I
track
think it was
to this?
73.
I don't know that you can
very famous
backtrack
picture of
when you're
Richard
not on
Nixon
any
and
rails
Elvis
whatsoever.
Presley. Do you ever
I
remember
mean,
that
you've been
picture?
doing some rails backstage,
Well,
obviously.
in that picture,
This has been now
I'm
an
a
hour and
huge
45
Elvis
minutes of this.
fan.
Yeah.
But back then, I was a kid, and I seen that picture, and it wasn't.
seen it?
And I said, "Wow, you got to be Elvis Presley to meet a president." I didn't think it the other way. It was really weird, and I never forgot that picture. And then as my past, and I did things, and I, broke the law, and
I did things in my past too.
DWIs, all these different things. I thought there's no way I could. One of the things that always went through my mind, I could never be in the White House. Well, the day that I got invited for that summit in the White House, that manufacturer summit, I walked into the White House, and on the wall, it's like the third picture in, is that picture of Elvis and Richard Nixon. And I got chills, and I'm going, wow. I'm going through there, and I sit down at the table, and there's 12 of us there.
Yeah.
And there's an empty seat here. And I go, who's sitting here? And the tour guy is telling me, he goes, the president. And I'm going,
oh, I thought it was going to be Jesus. I thought they saved the seat in the White House for Jesus. Now I'm kind of disappointed with the whole story.
you guys have seen the picture in here. You know what my friends said at home?
What?
All my friends that were still on drugs, they go, what is this ex-crack addict sitting next to the president? Jesus is real because this is impossible.
No, Jesus is in the empty chair. The empty chair is Jesus.
It's impossible. You guys, that's impossible.
It's impossible.
I'm
Jesus
sitting
Christ.
up here. I couldn't talk to people before.
Look at all the seats for Jesus they have in the audience.
It was one of my most things I would fear most was speaking in public.
Waiting for Jesus
speaking
at every
to two
single
people,
table.
Much less 1 million or 2 million.
3 million.
You could say, well, you did it on camera. Well, all these things that kept happening, I'm going, through all these divine appointments you read in my book that happened to me over these last 4 years, up to 3 years, up until 2017, February 18th, when I got saved.
Jesus is my calendar.
It's impossible if God wasn't involved. So I got on my knees and I surrendered to God. I surrendered to Jesus at that.
Could you surrender to the authorities, please?
Now let me tell you, it was a peace. It was I forgive myself for stuff I had done way back then, just like Jesus had forgiven me.
That's what we've learned so far.
But I'll tell you, I walked out of there.
Yeah.
And it was like lifted off me. I had no fear. In fact, I went out and spoke in U.S. Bank Stadium with 50,000 millennials, and I had to lead a prayer to a guy that couldn't talk. And I got out of there. This was this big Christian event out there. And my granddaughter and I, 2 weeks later, went to this amusement park, Valley Fair in Minnesota. And all these kids, these millennials are coming up to me. And they're going, Mike, I got saved there. What you said was, he goes, and we had a little bit of my story there. They interviewed me for 5 minutes. These are Christian speakers and bands, and there's 50,000 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they go, and this man morning, they just kept coming up, the droves coming up. And they're going, Mike, it wasn't about the pillow. It's about what was said there. My story changed them. It got them to Jesus, my past. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, wow, it was God confirming to me. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understandings, in all way acknowledge him, and he will guide your path. But my granddaughter got sick of people coming up. She goes, he's my grandpa, and we need to go on rides, But since that time, though, I become proactive in prayer. When you heard me from the Rose Garden, and I said we got to spend time in our Bibles. Now I'm going to tell you this, everybody.
You're going to tell us more,
everything, people come up to me all the time.
72 hours straight of this guy.
I prayed,
he's over his addiction.
It didn't come true. It didn't manifest out. It didn't come true. I prayed that Donald Trump would stay in office. I prayed that he'd win. I prayed that the election,
and it
that
didn't
they do
work?
something January 14th. I prayed for January 6th. I prayed for the inauguration. I prayed for whatever they're praying for. People come up to me all the time and say, and I said, you know what? It might not be God's will. And where is God's will? God's will is in the Word. And if you stay in the Word, they align, and you can be proactive in prayer, and our prayers align with God's will.
Right.
And that's what we all need to do. We need to surrender, and we need to pray.
So we need
to pray for our nation. We need to pray for the people out there that are hurting inside because of what's already been done. All people
are we going to have some frogs raining from the sky soon?
You know what they said? This was said in a speech that was done in California. I was just there. A guy got up there, and he was calling Democrats and stuff and calling them idiots. Idiots. This is before he was introducing me. He was calling these idiots, idiots, and idiots this. I was mortified. I got up there and I said, you know what? There's no idiots. I said, do you ever think?
There are no idiots?
I have my friends that are Democrats and liberals. I have some of my kids that are liberals. I said, they're not idiots. They have a lot of them, a lot of the things over here, they've been brainwashed by what? The media. The fake news. They took God out of our schools. They took
Can they take the art out of
our colleges. They brainwashed our kids saying socialism is good. That's what they did to our country.
I've never in my life been told that socialism is good.
For decades.
Even when I lived in socialist countries.
Never.
No one has ever told me, hey, Kevin,
well, then they came in for the big kill last year.
You need to go to Washington, D.C. and tell them.
Okay, now's the time. Let's take their country. How are we going to do it? Let's use it with computers. So we don't even have to fire a shot.
Let's use it with computers. There it is, folks.
That's where we're at, America. That's where we're at.
That's where we're at,
If the lights go out here, like Ronald Reagan said, they're a beacon on a hill. They go out everywhere. This is it right now. You cannot live in fear. We have to just go out. There's such a time as this.
It is morning for America.
This is the only time. You can't save it for tomorrow, your fear. You got to get up right now and stand up for our country and our freedom and the American dream.
Yeah! Crack at it! All the empty seats for Jesus. Not only do we have an American flag on the wall, we also have 3 American flags, digital American flags. Just in case you don't see the 40-foot flag on the wall. Freedom clap. Freedom clap. There, see? See the digital flags? Wait, what country are we in?
Yep.
I can't tell.
You guys,
I don't know what's going on.
This is going to be an amazing day.
Here we go.
Tell everyone you know right now today, if you're watching out there, they cannot miss a minute. This is the time at work where you should be over there looking at your cell phone and watching this.
Yeah, if you're at work today, folks, if you're on that assembly line,
right here,
making pillows,
everybody needs
stop
to watch
right now.
this. And remember, we're going to have the people that were attacked last night, or him out here. If you're just tuning in, you'll have to watch. But tell all your friends that what happened today.
Yeah.
And we've changed a lot of the structure, what was scheduled today, but it's even going to be more meaningful to our country. And Sonny, hi guys. Okay, thanks. But I'm going to let you guys sit here. I got to take a break for a second.
Right.
Okay, Sonny, can you run this for a second?
I got this.
Sonny, what a hero he is, huh? From Arizona, this guy, I'll tell you guys here, you got your heroes.
And Mark Fitcham, Representative Mark Fitcham, and Senator Wendy Rogers.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I know, I've been working on it like for an hour now. I think I have the chat working.
We would have got a better night's sleep last night at the hotel if we would have had my pillows.
The chat is working.
But they don't.
Okay. Woo! Welcome aboard, everybody. My name's Kevin Williams. I am your Kevin Father.
Run a video.
And we are providing commentary on an event and creating new entertainment. See, that's what we do. We provide commentary on things that are happening, which is totally cool with YouTube. That's what you're supposed to do. Just as they have these reaction videos, people watch something and then react to the videos themselves. That's how YouTube works, okay? That's good. You can be monetized. I cannot. Because even though I've had 44,000 watch hours last year, I'm somehow not creating any. Oh, here we go. Speaking of entertainment. Oh, I can't. Okay, we're going to stop that right now because there's a song playing in the background. I don't need another copyright strike. So the Remix Brothers there's Trump. Let's watch this in the full screen here. There's Trump and he's in the Matrix. Look, here's the deal. And Turning Point USA. Let's go back and see if there's still music on this. Okay, so there's still a song in the background, but there's a cat in a litter box because he has nothing but verbal kitty litter. That's good. They've got this all figured out. And there's a lady, Brian Kilmeade. I'm not sure really let's see if the music is still going. I think they're playing a little Snoop Dogg in the background. And I say, wait a minute, I just watched. Yeah. So everybody there is watching this. They don't have the feed hooked up, by the way. They don't have the feed hooked up to the broadcast. They're just playing this in the auditorium for the people at the suppository. So the audio is terrible anyway. But that being said, I can't afford another freaking copyright strike. So I'm not currently monetized on YouTube is what I'm saying. And they said I can reapply again in another month. Now, when I got demonetized in February, oh, look, there's Joe Biden in a parka, and there's Tucker. Tucker's face is stuck like that. I don't know if they're making fun of everybody except Trump. I think that's what's going on. And the music is over.
Sometimes life is too serious to be taken too seriously. So, you got to have some fun. And if you're not laughing, you're not living. And whoever made that was brilliant. But anyway,
okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to here's the Arizona experience. Okay, so but first off, I want to start off with something. Actually, Wendy, can you read off this up until there?
Okay. He's a Marine and I'm Air Force, so he wants me to read.
Where's my Marines? Let's hear it from Marines. Hoorah!
Semper Why?
Right. We must give voters the confidence that their ballot was counted as cast by supporting mandatory, statistically meaningful, post-election audits.
Yeah, they've done that multiple times.
And full transparency of all election
By the way, statistically meaningful means nothing. It's not a thing.
Ballot is counted. Vote-by-mail voters must be informed of and provided a meaningful opportunity to fix any problem with their ballot. A professional and well-trained election workforce is critical to the administration of elections. We support ongoing federal and state funding for local elections offices.
Okay, hindsight being 2020, right? 2020 is a very significant number, but that's on the 2020 Democrat Party platform.
Democrat.
Right. Those are decent
it's on
ideas.
page 56. The hypocrisy of the Democratic Party and the far left is completely off the charts. But anyway, let's go with, we're going to go from the beginning.
But
how
all
did
those
this
things
all
happen.
start? So I'm going to pass this off on to Mark Fitcham, who was the lead dog in this sled on November 30th. So Mark, please.
By the way,
Senator Borelli. So it's interesting, we look at the 2020 Democrat platform, and
Democratic
election integrity is not a party issue.
Can we look, if you remember, can we look at the 2020 Republican platform? No, we can't, because there wasn't one. The Republicans literally didn't have a platform. For the first time in party history, the Republicans had no platform whatsoever. It was just Trump. That was it. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, if there's any furniture in here today, go look it up. Find the 2020 Republican platform at the Republican National Convention. There wasn't one.
Tens of thousands by the time we got to November 10th or 12th. I had asked the leadership in the House of Representatives, at the time I was the chairman of the Federal Relations Committee, to hold a election integrity hearing, public hearing on election integrity. And I got slow walked, basically blocked from using.
Well, you should have won the election.
A public hearing in response to the email requests, in some cases demands, of our constituents. Now, knowing that I'm not elected by leadership, but I'm elected by the constituents, I reached out to Senator Borelli, who is the Senate Majority Whip, and to our colleague Leo Biasucci, who is the House Majority Whip. Leo couldn't be with us because he's got other duties for legislative responsibilities. And I asked them, can we collect up the members who are willing to sit for a public hearing? And out of that, we invited just about everybody in the House, just about everybody in the Senate, and very few people wanted to take a stand. Now, it's amazing what just a small amount of courage does to the polity when you actually sit and listen to them. So on November 30th, we moved our usual public hearing time to the Hyatt Regency downtown Phoenix. Because of COVID restrictions, we weren't able to fill the 800-person ballroom. We could only have 160, and that was with 10 slots for media, 10 slots for a legal team,
And 4 people
10
showed up.
slots for the panel. We started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I think everybody has seen the video. At 10:30, our governor and our fairly corrupt Secretary of State signed off on the certification of our official canvas.
Official. That was Governor Ducey, by the way, of Arizona, who's a Republican.
The reason that we decided to move forward with a public hearing, you know, we'll hear from the fake media, the fake news, that, oh, well, you know, this evidence that Mr. Giuliani and his team had failed in court. Well, the truth is, it was never decided on merits. It was always decided on competent jurisdiction.
Nope.
And I think as
That's
much
not
as
the
I
truth
might
at
be excoriated for this,
We
the courts
watched
actually had it
hearings
right.
together. If you watch the
This
live
is a
stream,
legislative
we
fight.
watched multiple
And
hearings
you don't
where
want
the
this
evidence
in the
was
courts.
presented.
You've seen
And every
what the
judge
courts
said,
will do.
this is not evidence. There's
So
nothing
on
here.
November 30th, we spent 10 and a half, I would say, grueling hours
Yeah, this has already been a grueling
listening
hour.
to
It's only
evidence that
been
was
36
presented by the
minutes.
Giuliani team and giving constituents the opportunity to be heard. That was probably the most important thing that we could do. At 7:30 in the evening, the Hyatt Regency said, we're at the outside of your contract. Would you like to renew for another day? Not at that price tag, thank you very much. Because ultimately it ended up costing about $25,000.
Because ultimately, what's the election worth?
By the way, that's cost that probably should have been the burden of the House of Representatives. But once again, we see
It's
that
too
the
bad that
people
the
have a
House doesn't
vested
exist in a
interest in
building where
hearing the
there's rooms
truth.
for hearings. It
So
really is.
out of generous contributions by a number of people, also people paying their own way, I'd like to go on record right now since I've been fact-checked on this so many times it's ridiculous. The Trump team paid their own way. Nobody paid for them. I cover the cost until we could actually get all the invoices
Trump team pays
collected.
with donations.
So I want
that
to
they
be very
receive
clear. By the end of the day,
from their
we
marks.
realized we never would have needed
Trump
subpoenas.
supporters.
We could have gone a whole nother day, maybe a half a day, the following day.
Liberty says, just got an Al Jazeera alert. Al Jazeera, the network, the news network. Taliban has broken through Kandahar lines. Not good. So yeah, the Taliban will be in control of Kandahar very shortly. As many suspected, the Taliban they'll take over Afghanistan again. We gave up. We cut and run, which is not a Republican or a Democrat idea. This was proposed originally by Trump. And then Biden said, yeah, we're out of there. The American people are just tired of fighting a 19-year war coming up on 20.
Cause and clear and convincing that it was time to hold a hearing.
So we go in, we take over their country, we train 100,000, 300,000 troops, we give them some weapons, and those weapons will soon be in the hands of the Taliban because the Taliban will conquer. And I don't even know if we're providing air support anymore. But it was a war that we just lost. Again, America has not been good with wars. I mean, we did get Grenada. That was quick. So good job on that. But otherwise, I guess Iraq is still relatively democratic. So great job, guys. But Afghanistan, they never did it, which is what people were saying about Afghanistan in the first place.
Members of the House,
Anyway,
of the Senate.
The most important part of that story is that we haven't gotten all of the people who cooperated, the interpreters, etc., with the United States out of Afghanistan into the safe haven of Guam or wherever else you're going to process them. A third-party country, Yemen or wherever. Yemen's a bad idea. But we haven't succeeded in helping those who helped us, which is ridiculous that the administration wasn't on day one saying, hey, let's get you out of there because we are leaving. As soon as it was announced, we're getting out of there by September 11th. Hey, get on board the bus. Let's get your family out of there to safety. It's just people at some point are going to figure this out and they're going to stop helping America. Just ask the Kurds.
Farnsworth, me tell you what, he was a great chairman. He was a great legislator, and of course he chose not to run again. He got tired of the left pounding and falsely, accusing everybody. Anyway, you know how it is. Anyway, we held the hearing. We heard testimony from the county folks, and one of the very things that were very striking that stood out to me was the insistence that this was not, the machines are not hooked to the internet.
Right.
Okay. So, I'm just a knuckle dragging jarhead with a GED, but I kind of know how to read and figure things out. But when I asked their elections people, well, there's been allegations that only your vendors were allowed to touch the tabulation machines and no county employees were allowed to touch them. So could you please address that? They said, no, we had full control over everything. I said, so how do we know that? Because it's been alleged that somebody could take one of them thumb drives or whatever, and little whatchamahoots they are. They could take it out of the machine and go and plug it into a laptop and change things around, because that's been alleged that things ended up in cyberspace and switched around. No. We had full control, chain of custody. We had, everything was logged. It was cameras on it, 24, you couldn't move without the camera being on. I'm like, okay, good. Well, what about the office space for your vendors, your election equipment vendor, which happens to be Dominion? And they say, well, what do you mean? Do you have cameras in their office spaces? And they go, I don't understand the question. Well, it's quite a simple question. Do you have cameras in their office space? Because I recall watching a county supervisors meeting where one of the supervisors was either bragging or complaining about the county providing county taxpayer workspace for a third-party vendor in the elections department. And they said, oh, yeah, you're right. We do have a workspace for them.
Hold on.
We have office space for them. I go, okay, good. Do you have security cameras in there? And they go, well, I don't understand the question. It's simple. How do we know that they didn't take one of them little thumb drives or whatever they are and stick it into
this guy knows his stuff.
Whatever the heck these things are, and stick it into one of their laptops and change something in cyberspace, because that's been alleged. Well, there's no internet. There's no internet hookup. Like, okay, well, here's the problem that I'm having. Because of COVID, we did not do our hearing at the Senate, in the Senate. We did it all via Zoom. So I have to rent a condo year-round in Phoenix, because I live 3 hours away.
What?
So I'm in the kitchen table, and I got my government laptop, and we're all doing this. I'm like, well, here's my problem. Well, I'm on a government laptop right now, and the only two wires that are plugged into this thing is the power cord and the mouse, because I'm old school. I got to use the old mouse. And they go, I says, but right now we're communicating during Wi-Fi. Isn't that the internet?
We're communicating during Wi-Fi.
Dead silence from them, and of course, watching Eddie Farnsworth on the screen just kind of rocked back and just kind of grinned, because he knew exactly where I was going with this. And I said, so you cannot say with 100% accuracy that nothing got changed on the internet from anybody's laptop or anything, because anything can be hacked. Anything can be hacked. As a matter of fact, my phone is via Wi-Fi. How can you say that? So that's when Eddie Farnsworth heard enough, and that's when he issued the subpoena with the authorization.
Well, the Wi-Fi has to be turned on.
And that's how things got started, and we subpoenaed the county. Now,
Cujo, I just read,
when
sorry
those
about your
subpoenas
mom,
went
Cujo,
out, then they
and I
acted
hope your
all
tests come
shocked
back okay.
and hurt, because
So there's a couple ways to look at that. If your tests come back negative, then great, you don't have COVID. If they come back positive and you have COVID, let's just hope that you're mostly asymptomatic or very mild symptoms, and that way your resistance will be built up. You're not going to catch it again, and at least you know. But yeah, we don't want the COVID if at all possible. So hopefully your symptoms are mild. I hope they stay that way. It's much more likely right now, living up in Canada, that you don't have it. So it'll be interesting to see the results.
They started fighting the subpoenas. They chose to fight us in court. They didn't want to comply. We tried to issue we tried to pass a resolution to hold them in contempt. Now, Arizona state law says the Senate has to vote on a contempt of the Senate, so that way, then if they don't comply, then the Senate president can sign a warrant to send the sergeant at arms down to take them into custody. Now, they don't go to jail, because Arizona state law doesn't do that. They would just bring them to the state Senate, where they're the guests of the Senate, and down in the basement with our interns and staff. So we wouldn't, we don't throw them in jail. We would have just taken them into custody. But we tried to pass a resolution.
Well,
Now, the
what's the
Senate
point?
makeup politically is 16 Republicans and 14 Democrats. So we need 16 votes to pass anything. Well, unfortunately, we had one senator who decided to, at the last minute, after he signed on to the resolution at the last minute, not telling anybody what his intentions were, he voted no. He voted with the Democrats to not support the resolution. Now,
Okay.
not only did he undermine the own authority of the state Senate, but he undermined the authority of the direct representation of the people of Arizona.
That's right.
And that's what people
That's
are
right.
missing, because we are the
All right.
direct representatives of the people, and he just undermined everybody that voted for in the state of Arizona. So anyway, so they chose to fight us. We went to court. The Attorney General filed an amicus brief, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word, but stating that our subpoenas are legal and enforceable. The judge concurred because that was what that was the matter before the court. The question is, are our subpoenas legal and enforceable? And the judge concluded, yes, our subpoenas are legal and enforceable. And of course, the county said, okay, fine, we'll comply. Then they left the courtroom and they started complying a little bit. They didn't comply fully. Now, we chose to do the audit at the Maricopa County Election Center.
Maricopa.
We chose to do it there.
call it
That's where it
Maricopa?
should have been. That's where the election was held. That's where they came and they
I can't-
certified
now
the
I'm confused. I
machines.
don't even remember what
And
Trump
they did a
called it.
recertification of the machines after the election. And then they said they were going to do their own
Maricopa
audit.
makes sense,
Well, you can't
right?
audit
Look at the
yourself by having the same company that came out and certified equipment to come out and do another certification and call that an audit. Now, the Election Assistance Commission does not certify companies to do audits. They only certify companies to certify machines are acting properly at the time of inspection.
Labs.
What?
They certify labs.
They certify labs, right. Okay. But that's it. They don't certify companies to do audits. They can call it an audit, or you can call it a
Well,
ham
that's
sandwich.
what
We all
it
know
is.
it's baloney,
It's
and
an
that's
audit
exactly
of
what
the
they were.
machinery, and they do certify
But,
companies. The
so
FEC certifies
We
companies.
started
There
to do
are
our
two
own,
of them
and
that they certify.
They wouldn't give it, so we started to move on that. We wanted, like I said, we wanted to do everything
Cyber
there on
Ninjas,
site. We wanted to
surprisingly,
get in there.
is
where
not
the
one of
forensic
those two
Cyber
companies.
guys could go in there and check the equipment. They could have been in and out of there within a week. Just get the equipment, download the data they needed, and they would have been gone. We could have brought out one pallet at a time.
Compromise all
and
the
counted
equipment.
ballots and scanned them all and done our thing. They chose to push it away from the county tabulation center. They chose to push it where we had to rent the Veterans Coliseum, where the fairgrounds is at. They chose to push
Where the
that
fairgrounds is
off-site,
at.
which cost us more money, more logistics, responsibilities, and resources that had to be expended, cost more money,
well,
more taxpayer
giant
dollars.
right-wing
They
groups have
chose
been
to
paying
do
millions
that.
of dollars for
And
this,
guess who
okay?
did not lift a finger? Because that jeopardized the chain of custody. The Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, never lifted a finger to intervene and say, no, stop. We have to make sure the integrity of this equipment is intact. We have to maintain the chain of custody. So
You
did not
can't.
intervene
Once
at
it's-
all. They
once it's
encouraged it to
given
be
to
pushed
cyber
off-site.
ninjas
Now,
who are not
they thought they would
certified
get over
to
on
do
us
an
because
audit
they
of an
thought
election,
they were going to
the
attack us on
machines have
chain
been
of custody.
compromised, and you gotta
But
buy
when
all
they
new
drove up the
machines.
trucks to drop all the
These
ballots
guys-
off,
I mean-
we had cameras on them.
So Cyber Ninjas had a hearing with a couple of members of the Senate. And they said, they're saying they got to buy all new equipment. And that's ridiculous because we can guarantee we didn't do anything to the machines that would affect the machines. Well, why would you suspect a group of doing things in the dark and remaining hidden and messing with your equipment, voting equipment? Why would you suspect an organization that calls themselves Cyber Ninjas? I don't even know what a ninja is, quite frankly. But anyway, why would they be lurking around in the dark doing clandestine things and hiding? Why would a ninja do that? Ninjas are the blenders, right? You make smoothies with a ninja. Why would someone who makes smoothies?
Allow them to do that. Because what they're trying to do is set you up to fail. So where they can accuse you of breaking the chain of custody and accuse you of something in the future. So now we're into the audit mode. Now I'm going to let, please, Senator Rogers was outstanding.
By the way, we still don't know the results of the audit. We're still waiting.
Man, got to get a tour of the audit and give them the play-by-play. So please, Senator.
The last thing at the Senate hearing is Cyber Ninjas said they needed to canvass the whole county. They needed to go door to door asking people for whom they voted. And then once they got a certain number, then they take that number and say, well, 60% of them said they voted for Trump. So you just go to a particular neighborhood where you know there's a lot of Republicans, and then you come back. If 78% said that they voted for Trump in our canvassing, why did Joe Biden win? How is that possible?
They don't live in Phoenix or Tucson. They're sort of out in the hinterland, and so they constantly ask me, Senator, what's going on down there? So
Good question.
here I am, vice chair of a new vice chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm in my corner office that Gunny gave me that has no windows. And then Senate President Karen Fann put out a text and said, if you want to go down to the audit, which is only a mile from the Capitol, by the way.
I have a third monitor, everybody.
So I was the first one, other than Sonny,
what I've been messing around with.
Go and
I got
have
a
a look.
doohickey from Amazon.
And I went
now
that
have
very
a third
day,
monitor.
which was toward the end of May, because I was fascinated. Here we are
It's
on
over
the
here,
front row of history.
but Windows thinks it's over
And so I made an
there.
appointment to sit down with someone who is expert to walk me through it. So I sat down with this guy who was in his 40s, late 30s, who gave me all the detail thus far of where the audit was for about an hour. And then another gentleman took me around on the floor. And what I saw on the floor, and as many of you have seen the photos of, were these colored Lazy Susan style tables that the votes were counted on. And 3 of the 5 people at each table were.
All right, Windows just went blue, and I lost my third display. So that's it for my birthday, I guess.
Election. 2,000 of these kinds of volunteers
wonderful for a very short period of time.
Gave of their time at the audit. So they not only had skin in the game because they had voted in that election, but they were vetted and background checked. And the chain of custody and the accountability of where each ballot went and how it was tabulated was excruciatingly acute and minutely tracked. And so the first time I was walking around and I had a security guy, you might remember him from the cameras, he had a white cowboy hat on, and Cowboy Andy was his nickname. And he took me around and he said, Colonel, I have someone here on the floor I want you to talk to.
Okay.
So he motioned over this gentleman who came to me and said, Wendy, I also served in the Air Force. I was also a pilot like you in the Air Force. I'm a retired general officer. And I said, great to meet you, sir. And he said, I want to tell you, I flew tankers in Strategic Air Command. He said, the chain of custody in this room is tougher and more acute and narrow than even it was in Strategic Air Command. He said, I can't go to the bathroom without signing off these tabulation sheets I'm working on. He said, I've never seen anything like this. And so fast forward, Sonny had me host many of you brave patriots who journeyed to Arizona.
Yeah.
Hats off to you. And among them was none other than former Governor Eric Greitens of Missouri, Navy SEAL, who had the same observation in terms of accountability and chain of custody of the procedures on that floor, which were bar none better in many cases than the U.S. military. So you had Navy, you had Air Force, all of us
isn't that a problem we should be addressing with the military?
Of this.
If we're just letting people just fly tankers without signing them out?
Look at the ballot itself.
4
different parameters were looked at.
I don't know.
Underneath a microscopic
They were on the runway like a half an hour ago.
We're talking the yellow
see the munitions?
watermarks in the paper. We're talking how the hash mark lines lined up from the back to the front of the paper.
Yeah.
We're talking, and this is what amazed me the most, was whether or not the oval bubble was filled in by a human or not. because of the three-dimensional ability for that microscopic camera to look at the paper and whether or not it was cratered. And we could look at the fibers of the paper.
The bamboo fibers.
The media is beside itself because they won't communicate the truth
Nobody here.
of the excruciating detail to which this analysis was
fibers.
done of 2.1 million ballots.
Fibers.
2.1 million ballots. This is a packageable effort.
And
this
and
is
no
a
results.
transportable, usable again in other states
To find the
project
craters.
that you can take.
Oh,
And the two companies are Cyber Ninjas, the overarching application security company, and Cypher, CYFIR, data security company.
they're in Montana.
And
There's
so
a cabin
that
in
first day I
Montana
was there,
where the
I
tech
went
hub is
back to
based.
my house and I looked up this
They're calling it
technician who
Silicon
had
Forest.
spent an hour with me before I walked the floor. It was none other than Doug Logan himself, the CEO of Cyber Ninjas, who had
CEO of
spent an
Cyber
hour
Ninjas.
with the little grandma from Flagstaff.
Yeah, the guys who still have spelling
And
errors on their main page, their
These
main webpage,
men
their
and
homepage.
women are the best and
Homepage is
brightest
kinda like
of our
cyber talk.
country in terms of cyber security, expertise,
Yeah.
and level of access
not just
with
spelling errors,
security
but
clearance.
coding
So
errors.
don't let
They have
anyone
coding
tell you
errors
that
on the
this
homepage.
is anything less
go see
than
if
the
it's
most
still there.
professional audit imaginable. And as President Karen Fan will tell you, she would tell me, Wendy, there is no yellow pages entry that you can open up and find an audit entity that can audit an election. We had to put together experts from around the country at the behest of other secretaries of state and Senate presidents and the Federal Election Commission. She pulled Karen Fan, a woman with a steel spine from a rural district, just as we are,
That sounds expensive. I
pulled
hope she's got help
these
there.
experts together dauntlessly, tirelessly, and got them hired. And so you can do that also. We are here to encourage you, to let you know that we will get to the truth and that you can do it in your states.
That's right.
Mark?
Yay.
So I would add that it's my understanding that the major auditing houses were contacted and asked if they would like to do the work. And the response was, we'll have to take a pass because we have government contracts that are at risk. What a surprise. The other thing that I want to make note of is...
That's his understanding. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from the two certified auditing organizations. I haven't seen any, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But that's his understanding.
that have been discovered as a result of discovery and the process. Look, folks, you can either have fast or you can have accurate. Fast is a service to the media. Accuracy is a service to the people.
Yeah.
That is where we need to have our focus.
Right.
So now we have letters that have come out. As time goes on, and I've used this metaphor before, the ocean is truth, and a vessel with a crack in it is a lie. Sooner or later, enough water is going to seep in, enough truth is going to seep in that it's going to sink that vessel of lies. So we now have documents that have been uncovered.
That's just nonsense speech. This guy's a member of the Oath Keepers, by the way. The militia group, the Oath Keepers. That's who they've got up on stage.
Y'all have heard of Sharpie Gate?
Yes.
Gate,
you
it was
can
all
use
over the
Sharpies
news
on
and
ballots.
Facebook and everything.
Yeah,
And he
so
said, conspiracy
the
theory.
media mocked the conspiracy theory of Sharpie Gate. Well, here's a little bit of fact that folks can check.
Okay.
People were instructed to use ballpoint pens up to, and this is a quote, up to the day of the election, but on the day of the election, instruct voters to use Sharpies. Interestingly
Sharpies
enough,
work.
one of the things that was disclosed in the most recent hearing is that there was ink bleed through because of Sharpies,
Imagine that.
which caused ballots to do what? Go to adjudication. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where one of the major areas of
When you
potential
do a hand recount, yes.
fraud exists.
Except
Because
that they
if
don't
it bleeds
line-
through, if
there's
the ink
no
bleeds through the
danger
paper,
of bleed through
it
affecting the
confuses
vote.
the automated
Because
machine, which, by
they-
the way, I'm not
on
a
the
fan
other
of
side of the
automated
paper, it
machines.
doesn't
I'm a big
line
fan
up.
of hand
When you
counting.
have two-sided ballots,
It
you
confuses
don't
the
line up
machine
bubbles
and
with each other.
forces
That's why you have
electronic
barcodes
adjudication.
when you print.
That's where somebody decides
So it's-
who you voted for.
There is no Sharpie gate.
Not where you voted
It doesn't
for.
affect anything.
Who they think you voted
This
for.
was just,
There's a
this
couple of
has
great
some bleed
pieces
through.
on
Because the Sharpies work, by the way.
that we can get you.
This has some
that
bleed
show
through
the
through the paper a
analysis that
little
Cyber
bit.
Ninjas did,
Take a look at
which
this.
quite frankly is
Yeah, it
fascinating
doesn't
to
affect
see
anything. Moving
just
on.
how
None
off
of the ballots were
some of these
disqualified
dots
because of
were.
Sharpies. There's no Sharpie
But
gate.
the important thing that I want you
But
to, the big
during
takeaway
their audit,
is
anytime there
that
was bleed
this
through, they would take a look at
is-
it.
There are so
That
many
make sense?
different ways to defeat
If anyone
a
doesn't
legitimate
understand what I'm
ballot.
saying, let me know, and I'll explain it. I'll use paper.
It takes just a little bit of courage. And I guarantee you, your constituents
is.
will reward you for standing up for their right to vote, for a fraud-free
With
election,
Sharpies.
for a transparent system.
How is
and
Trump
the
supposed to
protection
vote
of
if
the
he
right
can't
to
use
scrutinize
Sharpies?
an
That's my
election.
question. Judges have the same question.
Now, I also needed to make note, I mean, Senator Rogers brought it out, there was a retired two-star Air Force general there. We also had retired FBI, retired other law enforcement, retired IRS agents that know how to do these numbers things. And of course, it's amazing how
IRS
the
agents
media,
that know how to do these numbers
the
things.
lamestream media throws out all
Can't
kinds of
argue with that.
misinformation, disinformation.
I mean, you could, but it's pointless
flat out
arguing with a
lies
pig.
to discredit the audit.
You put
and
lipstick
saying
on
they're
a
not
pig, though,
qualified
I
to do
heard.
it. How much qualification do you need to have to go?
Lindsay!
One piece of paper, two piece of paper, three piece of paper. They
Right?
literally insulting the intelligence and the integrity of folks that volunteered. Like I said,
Why do we
and
have
by the way,
anybody
the
who's
volunteers
certified? That's an
regardless of
excellent
party
question.
preference.
Right.
Republicans,
Thank you,
Democrats,
Senator.
Independents, Green Party, you name it. Everybody was there, all walks of life. Moms, dads, retired grandpas, grandmas.
And we purposely did not ask what
Yeah.
their party was. Didn't know, didn't want to know.
Didn't care. We just want people that that had skin in the game, Maricopa County residents that wanted to ensure that they were there because after all, it's your ballot. It's your vote. So this where we are right now is we got some preliminary results in. The left, and by the way, fellow legislators out there,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Here we are.
on
Here-
this.
here are the
We're
preliminary
constantly
results
getting
of the
a
fraud in
barrage of
Arizona.
FOIA requests coming from the hard left, correct? Right? Well, they hit us with a FOIA request. They wanted to have all correspondence between Cyber Ninjas, which is basically the quarterback of the audit, and the Senate. We took it to court, and because this is legislative privilege, our investigation is still ongoing. We're not doing
Okay.
a recount. We're doing an audit. That's a government function. It's an audit. So they tried to disrupt, and they had the Department of Justice get involved and everything else.
Recount
And
is also a
Department of Justice tried to
government,
intimidate us, and
function.
well, you know, it's Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do we have in Arizona? We have a lot of sand, right?
Also
so
scorpions.
Department of Justice
Boxes
came
full.
in. They wanted to try to intimidate us. Well,
And
of
culverts.
course,
You
Senator
guys have
Rogers told them
culverts
to
there.
do
We
what?
don't have culverts in
Go
Los
pound
Angeles.
sand. So that's right. Anyway. They hit us with these FOIA requests. The
You
judges,
know what they have a lot of
the court
everywhere?
said no.
Sand.
They're an agent of the Senate, so therefore they have to comply. You have to. It's public record. You need to comply and disclose that. Okay.
Okay.
President Fenn, as great as she is, turned right around and hit the county with FOIA requests. Secretary of State's office, former county recorder's office, and Dominion, and hit them with FOIA requests because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Because guess what? Dominion
What?
is a contracted agent of the county.
Sand? Is the
She
answer
also hit
sand?
them with another subpoena for more items and to
Okay.
reinforce the subpoena on the routers, passwords, and hardware tokens and spunk logs and stuff like that, and a bunch of other things that she requested.
Spunk logs?
And to also
Is there a
Dominion
thing called a
hit them with a
spunk log?
subpoena, and of course they're saying they're not going to comply.
That is
Well,
the least sexy pickup
we knew this
line
was
I've ever
coming,
used.
so I waited for Senator Fan to exhaust what she needed to do, and then
It's this.
of course,
This
I got
explains
tired
why
of it.
nerds never have sex.
Well, what happens when diplomacy breaks down with our government? What usually happens?
You call in the Marines.
We call in the military. Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, call in the Marines. But we
He's
had
a
a
former
nice
Marine.
piece of legislation that passed through in 2016. It was Senate Bill 1487. And at the time, Senator Andy Biggs, he's the president of the Senate. Now he's in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Arizona,
Spunk law.
I think 9th District or 5th
I
District.
don't know if
whatever.
that's what he said.
Anyway,
Somebody look that up. Is there such a
we
thing as a
passed- we
spunk
passed this
log?
law that
I mean, yeah,
states
there is. But
if
is
a
that what
county
he's
or
talking about?
city creates an ordinance or is not complying with state law, any legislator
title
can
of this
request
show.
the Attorney General
Today
to do
in
an
Spunk Log.
investigation. If the Attorney General concludes the investigation that they are in violation of state law, or they have to rescind an
No,
ordinance
splunking
that
makes
violates
sense.
state law or
I totally get
contradicts,
splunking.
they have
but
30 days to
spunk log-
remedy. In other words, fix it. If they don't, then
And it would be
the
spelunking,
Attorney
by the
General
way.
shall
It comes from Cave Explorer. You're
notify
exploring
the
the
state
data. That's a
treasurer
thing.
to withhold 10%
I really don't
of their
think there's a
state
spunk
shared
log.
revenue. That's a financial sanction. Now, for Maricopa County, that's a little over 6.
Unrelated to, I don't know if he's going to announce any results here. Unrelated to that, I do need somebody who's willing to sleep with me. So if you're willing to sleep with me, let me know. I'm desperate for someone to sleep with me at this point, or at least be in the bedroom while I sleep to keep me from lying on my right shoulder because it hurts when I do. And my body is a freaking idiot because I'll start sleeping on my left side. I'll wake up on my right side in pain. What a freaking moron. It's like when I sleep, my brain turns off.
week, and on Friday, the Attorney General notified the county that this action is.
Are there service animals that'll keep me from sleeping on my right side? And you're a service animal, people. Is that how I can do that?
Fine.
It could be jailed, so they can be personally charged. I'm not sure about that. I'm not an attorney. I just play one.
I'm gonna get remonetized on YouTube just by having a spunk log channel. You'll see.
Showing contempt towards just the Senate. They're showing contempt towards the voters of Arizona. This is ridiculous. Pardon?
That is correct. This is ridiculous.
It was Senate Bill 1487, and it was
Passed in 2016.
That was passed in 2016.
In fact, if you want to look the language up for it, you can go to www.azleg.gov.
This is a dongle. This is not a spunk log.
Well, I've got it. Yeah,
I'm
I've got
not,
it right
I'm
here.
not showing you guys a spunk
Or you
log.
can just look up Arizona Revised Statute 41-194.
And by the way, to you legislators who are in the audience and who may be watching online, this is probably one of the most powerful tools that has been handed to the Arizona legislature, because when a political subdivision, think about that, a political subdivision that exists
try to wedge pillow.
because
That's
the
a good
state
idea.
legislature has empowered them to exist. When that political subdivision chooses to act in a lawless manner, the legislature now has a tool that it can enforce the law. And I would add that this is a non-judicial procedure. You don't go in front of a judge. This is the fast track to compliance. You make the application with your complaint to the Attorney General. The Attorney General validates did it or did it not happen. If it did happen, the offending party has an opportunity to change their ways. If they don't, boom, it goes to the state treasurer, and they pull back whatever that 10% number is. No judge involved. This is a no-nonsense tool that you can use.
So
Now,
extrajudiciary
comes
is
down to
what you're
this.
saying. That's the
We're going to
good
get this
thing?
done. Eventually, it's going to get done, like Mark says. Do we want speed or do we
That's-
want accuracy?
We want to
need
take
need
that
accuracy.
branch of the
'Cause
government
we got
out
to
of
make
the
sure
equation.
our findings, whatever
That's
we
how we'll
find,
know that it's
is
secure.
bulletproof,
That's
is
what
going to
you're
have to
saying.
withstand any kind of court action. Bottom line is this.
These are the
You
freedom
have a
people.
right to
These are the
scrutinize
liberty
your
people.
elections.
Let's keep
You have a
the
First
judges
Amendment
out of
right
things.
to redress government. It's part of the First Amendment also. And for them to deny that and obstruct that is literally
That is correct, Patty Ann. This is a
violation
joke.
of their own oath of office. And to not comply is a complete
got a fly on his
disrespect
hair.
and
He could be
contempt
vice president.
towards the people that we are sworn to serve. We
Oh, that
serve
fly
at the
loves it.
consent of the governed. And if they have no faith and trust and confidence in the process and procedures,
Where is it?
then
I think it's on
we
the
are
back
no
of his head
longer a republic. We're a banana republic.
Oh, no, it's on
And
the right
I
side.
kind of went on a
You
little
guys
bit
see
of a
it?
rant yesterday about this.
We have
Somebody
ourselves
asked,
a
well,
pence.
what is this going to cost?
We have
What's it
ourselves
cost?
a pence.
What
This
does
is the
it
new
cost
running
if
mate
we
for
don't
2024.
do this and follow through? Auditing any government, this is a government function. Now, the one very thing that we have that sets us apart from all the other countries out there is the rights of the people to voice their concerns and actually select who the heck they want representing them. And that's the right to vote, and we need to make sure that, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into establishing this country and doing this, and how much blood and treasure we spend overseas helping other countries get that right. So anyway, where do we go from here? We're going to get our audit completed, but you know what? We have to
But
restore
you said you had
confidence in
some
the 22
preliminary
election.
results.
We have to come up with solutions. That's part of the audit process. We're finding out what needs to be done. We're getting to that we could do prospectively. But we also have something that we got something through passing the budget this year.
I think
that-
Mike wants to.
I got to interrupt you for a second. Okay, everybody.
Oh,
come on,
boy.
Phil.
Here it
This
is.
just came out.
Yeah.
It's Gateway Pundit. It's by Larry Johnson.
Pundit.
And what he said, he
There's
goes,
no end.
one of Mike Lindell's cyber experts bailed on the China hack theory earlier this week and spoke with the media. Why now? He goes down to say the cyber expert on the red team hired by Mike Lindell now says the key data underpinning the theory that China had hacked our election unveiled at the cyber symposium is illegitimate. That's a lie. Okay? China did it. Okay? It's a lie. So we're deflecting this lie and we're checking into it. The red team's checking into this Larry Johnson. It sounds like he's CIA. And is that correct? We say no. Right, that's the word we're getting. So we're going to check out this Larry Johnson. And I just want to interrupt you because that's what they're out there. They're trying everything they can right now.
Pretty sure
to
Larry
destroy the
Johnson is a
message coming
pseudonym
out of
for a
the summit,
penis.
or the summit.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so there you have it.
So where do we go from here? We already passed something.
The cyber expert apparently did an interview where he said the underpinning evidence of China attacking the election is nonsense. And so Mike Lindell came out and said, that's a lie. There you go. So, therefore, I'll give that one to Mike. I mean, it can't be more compelling than that. 100% absolute vodka.
Explains it a lot better. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah,
You wanna-
get them to go ahead and key that up.
Has anything been explained so far?
Can be branded for your individual state. I'm happy to supply you with whatever. In fact, if you want to be part of the process mapping group, I'd like to talk to you after we're off stage. But there's an opportunity here
Can I
for
be
you to
part of
seize
the
control
process
of your
mapping
ballots
group?
and make sure that you
I
don't
have
have
a spunk
counterfeits in
block.
the system. So if you would, please roll the tape.
Oh, we got it. We're going to watch something. Let's watch something. This will explain everything.
I'd like to talk to you for a moment about a project we've been working on at the Capitol. called
See,
the
it's not
Arizona
piped
Ballot
through to the main
Integrity
line.
Project. It's a full-spectrum
The audio is
transparency
going to be
project
terrible here,
to
you guys.
give
Sorry.
Arizona voters confidence in their election.
I'm going to try and pump it
Ballot
up.
integrity is part of the election process.
Okay.
Ballot integrity relies on fraud countermeasures. That's to keep the fakes out of the system. Election integrity relies on full-spectrum transparency. Putting sunshine on something
This guy's
is a
presenting
great
like my
disinfectant.
dad. Hold on a
We
second.
can
Let's
have
go to
full
full
spectrum
screen here.
transparency
No.
by making every ballot image a public
Yeah, there
record
we go.
available to everyone all the time. There's no reason
This
not
guy
to do
reads
this.
just like my father.
The U.S. Treasury relies on currency-grade fraud countermeasures, meaning they have
Hold on.
UV light
This one.
reactive
Let's find him.
bills.
Let's bring him
From
up
the
here.
dollar bill to the 5 to the 10.
Ladies
each
and
side,
gentlemen,
you'll notice
my dad.
stripes, fluorescence, all manner of countermeasures. And after all, aren't our ballots just as valuable as our money?
Oh my God.
This is an Arizona ballot replica. But there's been a change. And you'll
It's
notice
my
that
dad.
this is the future state of our
This
ballot.
is how he reads.
A watermark that is also UV
He's
light
got the
reactive.
same tonality
But there's more.
as my father when he reads,
A QR
which is
code in
great.
the upper left-hand corner.
But we're
will
not
give
we're not
every
learning
ballot
anything here.
a unique voter number.
So this has kept me amused for a little while here. But I do need. Does anybody need to know what we have to be outraged about today? Because we can check in with Fox and Friends and see. Because I'm in a pretty good mood. It's my birthday eve. I do need someone who's willing to sleep with me. Let's see. No, still sore. I woke up. I woke up about an hour and a half ago, and my arm is still sore from me sleeping on my right side. So I do need someone to sleep with me. That would be a great birthday present. If anyone wants to sleep with me for my birthday, that would be, I think, apropos. Let's see what you guys are. Yeah, if anybody wants to watch Fox and Friends, we'll do that. Oh, there's microprint, and also there's a hologram. Yeah, a hologram is very hard to forge. It's capitalized, so you know that's true. Okay. I just want to hear a little bit more of my dad. If you guys, I don't know how far the broadcast is behind. It comes and goes. Oh, wow. The internet here at the Pembroke studio so far this morning has been absolutely perfect. Not a single drop frame. So good job, Pembroke. Thank you for fixing it. Pembroke is a feline. Jojo, she's not sleeping with me. No, I have a cat sleeping with me. Wrong type of spunk log. I'm outraged about the real estate agent who was held at gunpoint while just showing a house. Yeah, so that story is, and I haven't delved into that story, but that needs to be audited. So a black real estate agent was showing some black customers a house, and someone called the cops on them, and the cops showed up and thought that they were robbing the house. Let's go to no one's saying yes to Fox and Friends, but I don't care. It's my birthday eve. We're gonna watch Fox and Friends. Let me pull that up, see if it works, because we've got multiple monitors going on. You guys watch this. I'm gonna get Fox and Friends ready.
Fake documents in the system. It will also allow, as we try to pursue the restoration of confidence in the election, one of the biggest things that we've gotten in feedback from our constituents is, they said I voted, but I can't see my ballot. I don't know for sure that they actually coded my ballot. Did they code somebody else's? Or did somebody switch my ballot out for something else? I mean, we have a lot of work to do right now to restore election integrity. And
we have secret ballots in the United States. I don't know how people, like, what he's saying makes no sense whatsoever. We don't know when our ballot is counted. We know when our ballot is processed. You can check online, especially in the states with the mail-in only ballots. That's the way to do it, because you can track your ballot all the way to the point where they open up the envelope, they take the secret ballot out, they separate it from the security envelope, and then they count it. And there are people there watching that process, making sure that people don't just take ballots and then switch them for other ballots that haven't been checked for craters. It's nonsense.
Other service that you can put it out on, but you make it so that a voter can go to a graphic user interface, block their IP address, go through a third party, and verify that the ballot that has their number, their individual ballot number, is the same ballot they submitted in the election.
Nope, because then that can be tracked back to the individual. That is no longer a secret ballot if you put ballot numbers on them and allow people to track.
County are going to be all over that like ugly on.
But of course, nobody's password is ever hacked, and no one's information, social security number, etc. No one ever gets that information anywhere on the planet, and therefore should be perfectly fine if we just put all that onto ballots. Oh wait, we're clapping.
You know, the scrutiny from the far left, the Democrats, I mean, the Department of Justice, they threaten to shut everything down, don't go out and canvass, which is really crazy, because they said canvassing voters is somehow voter,
Suppression,
intimidation, which is...
How do you intimidate a dead guy?
Well, yeah, no, that, but voter intimidation
is
prior to an election, not after election. Look, we want to know if the 25 people that are registered to vote at the corner Walk and Don't Walk actually exist, and it's a vacant lot, there's no mailbox. How do you send ballots to that? How is it that 25 people are registered to vote?
No ballots were sent to non-addresses. If there's no address, it can't be sent. It's never happened. None of it happened.
You know, that would mean that poll questions prior to an election would actually be voter intimidation. Either way,
I just saw in the chat room, if you're listening earlier, Cujo said that they might have COVID. They got tested. The results just came in negative. No COVID for Cujo, so that is fantastic news.
She did this work, which is really amazingly off the charts. And the fake news is
Oh,
they
the
know what
judges
they're
just went
doing.
back. They've got a little bit
Don't
of
be
delay, so
intimidated.
Congratulations.
We had a saying in the Marine Corps, it's all about staying power. Okay? Stay strong. Stay
It's all about staying power with your spunk log. Stay strong. Marines, hard.
our creed.
That's right. You know,
Say it again.
Whoa.
Surrender is not in our creed.
and we,
and
don't-
the-
and we
the-
don't back down. We double down.
Yeah.
And the far left, the fake
Afghanistan.
news, and the Department of Justice can do what? Go pound sand.
Nobody in the audience. He set that up like 45 minutes ago, explaining that Arizona has a lot of sand. And then what they do? Say it with me. Go pound. And the audience is like, flags. Look at all the flags. If you're going to set people up for something like that, you lead them into it. And the auditors, they can go pound sand, and the Department of Justice can do what? They can go pound the wall. It's just you don't. This is not a guy.
Every time you're attacked, you double down.
Yep.
Yeah, no matter if you're
One
wrong or right, or
one
it doesn't matter.
fraudulent vote suppresses the legal ballot.
That's right.
Okay? That, we got to finally step up, and we need to do this. I'm a proponent of paper ballot, hand count, precinct level, old school. Let's get it done.
Yeah, they did that. They did that.
All of this discussion has been primarily about Maricopa County.
Uh-huh.
And I'm glad that Senator Rogers brought up the notion
about
of
the other
nullification. Y'all know what nullification is?
Counties that Trump
Okay.
won.
Decertification.
In Pima County, one of the documents that we received was from a burner email. A gentleman, perhaps
All
a gentleman,
emails
I
are
guess
burner
the
emails.
burner email could have been to throw off the message. Brian Watson, 0002007 @gmail.com. Wherever Brian Watson is at, Brian tells us that he sat in a meeting with the Pima County Democrat Committee, and they
Democratic.
openly bragged about how they had inserted 35,000 fictitious votes into the system
Okay.
and would ensure that Donald Trump would not win Pima County.
But you just said this was a burner email account. In other words, fraudulent. You just said that, and then you're going to go with the evidence from the fraudulent person? This is what this is. Over and over and over again, people. This is 72 hours of, well, we heard from a guy that we're pretty sure isn't real. That
To at least say something. My appeal to Americans that are watching this, no matter what your party affiliation is,
I don't have a party affiliation.
if they're willing to do it to one party, one day they will do it to you.
Wait.
If they
They?
want to tell
With
people to sit
quotation
down and
marks?
shut up, one day they're going
Uh-huh.
to tell you to sit down and shut up.
I am sitting
That's
down.
what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. You giving your consent to be governed under the U.S. Supreme Court doctrine of one person, one vote.
It's not how it works.
Things like fractional voting,
That's not a U.S. Supreme Court
legitimate
doctrine.
ballot nullification,
That's
electronic adjudication.
This guy's a sitting congressperson
all of that
in
has
Arizona.
to come to an end. And I believe the
Uh-huh.
only way we can do that is paper ballots and hand tabulation.
We have that
Thank you
in
very much.
Arizona. We have
You know,
that in Arizona. There are paper
We
ballots in
ventured down
Arizona.
this
Everything is
road,
a
and when
paper
everybody's
ballot.
going to son, you're
They
going to
were
lose a lot of
tabulated.
friends. And we're all going to lose a lot of
They were
friends that
hand
are going to be
recounted.
against this.
But were they your friends?
But they were really your friends, but just think, all the new
Speaking of
friends and
friends.
family members you just gained, because there are millions.
All right, now we're going to go to a break here. Let's pull up Fox and Friends. Speaking of friends, and I just want to find out what we're supposed to be outraged about today. There's going to be a Field of Dreams game in Iowa. Let's skip ahead of that because we don't really need to see that. Yankees versus White Sox in fields. So they built a baseball field in a corn field, I guess. And so they're gonna have a Field of Dreams game. I don't know why I would be outraged about that, but let's get to some actual news. Dyersville, Iowa. Okay, cool. There's very few fans there. That's good for COVID purposes. Mike just popped out. Mike popped out and said that somebody was being interviewed, somebody from the red team, they were being interviewed, and they said that the data that the Chinese attacking the election, I'm just out of words for explaining this. They said that everything was based on a hoax, that this is all just nonsense, that the packet captures, the PCAPs, that they're from nothing. They're just random or CPACs. It's just Republican conferences of conservative. Anyway, it's all nonsense. But Mike Lindell came out on stage and said, that's a lie. So there you have it. Point Mike. Let's find out what's going on the Fox and Friends so we can be outraged and then go about our day. And some volume. Here we go.
In the news today, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is heading to our southern border. Apparently there's stuff going on down there.
Yeah, because his visit comes as CBP is confirming July apprehensions are the highest in more than 20 years.
Yeah, it's a record we didn't want to break. I think, Griff Jenkins.
A record is an all-time record. They keep saying this is a record for the last 20 years. Okay, but if a record exists, it would be like saying that you broke the home run record, the Roger Maris home run record, because we're not counting the Roger Maris home run record. So it's a record. It's the most home runs ever hit besides Roger Maris. So it's a record. No, it's not. It's Roger Maris still has the record. You can say it's the most. It's the highest number since in the last 20 years. You can say that. That's fine. But you can't say it's a record for the last 20 years.
Joins us live from Washington with more. As Fox News poll shows, immigration is Joe Biden's weakest category. It's in the 30s. Hey, Griff, tell me what's happening.
Yeah, that's right. Brian Ainsley, Steve, good morning. It's not necessarily, I suppose, a surprise that the president's lowest marks in this latest Fox News poll come on the issue of immigration. Let's take a look here. You see,
especially since the right is not telling, this is a Fox News poll, by the way, is not telling the truth about immigration. They're telling you nuggets of truth, but they're not giving you the whole picture.
57% of Americans disapprove of his handling of the border crisis, while only 35% approve. Now, this as the incoming Border Patrol Chief, Raul Ortiz, who officially takes the reins Sunday of the beleaguered agency, confirming to our own Jonathan Hunt that the July numbers will be record-breaking.
Yeah, that's a lot of people being held for processing. They're coming across the border. Right, and they're being apprehended, which is good. That's what we want to do. We want to apprehend them. We don't want them to be classified as what are called getaways, where no one sees them.
The most difficult conditions he's ever seen.
In my 30 years, this is the most complicated situation I've ever experienced.
We have heard that the official July figure...
Is that it? He just said that, and there's no follow-up to that? He didn't explain why it's complicated? We're just going to cut that out?
Figures for apprehensions are going to be north of 210,000.
We've seen steady increases over the last 4 or 5 months.
Over 210,000?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be over that.
This has...
Okay, so we don't know, but it could be. That's fine. Those are apprehension. Those are not people. Remember, Title 42 is still active. That's the Trump administration's idea that, hey, if you're coming across during a pandemic, you can't come in. Borders closed. And the Biden administration is adhering to that. In fact, they just re-upped it 2 weeks ago. So Title 42 is not going anywhere anytime soon. The vast majority of those apprehensions result with people being sent right back into Mexico. You're not coming in. Sorry, borders closed. If you're an unaccompanied minor, we will let you into the country because you're a child. If you come in as a family, we are no longer separating families, folks. We're not doing that. We're not creating thousands of orphans as a nation. We're not doing that anymore, we've decided, because that is inhumane and we are America. You can stay if you have a valid asylum claim and you're a family. Okay? That's what's happening. But for example, in June, where we actually have figures, there was close to about 200,000 people, not people, there it is, there were close to 200,000 apprehensions, really about 145,000 people, because those people are rejected because of Title 42, and then they try again and they're caught again. 35% of the people who tried to cross in June had already been apprehended at least once by Customs and Border Patrol. That's not the apprehensions. The encounters are not the number of people. A lot of those people, a third of those people, are repeats. Then out of that, almost 200,000 people, oh, sorry, I did it again. See? Out of the 200,000 apprehensions, let's say 140,000 people, 145,000 people, 104,000 of them, almost 105,000 of them were immediately rejected back into Mexico. That leaves about 40,000 families and unaccompanied children, which is a huge number. But that's not what Fox News is saying. They're saying that millions of illegal immigrants are in the country. Once they're in the country, they're legal. If they claim asylum and they're a family or they're an unaccompanied minor, that's completely 100% legal. Asylum is a legal process codified in the law of the United States, not illegal immigrants.
Secretary Mayorkas, who last visited the border in May, heads to the RGV, tweeting wheels up for South Texas. DHS is executing our plan to rebuild a safe, orderly, and humane immigration system. But he's being met by harsh criticism. Texas Congressman Chip Roy tweeting at Secretary Mayorkas and President Biden, calling for their impeachment over mishandling the border crisis, showing
impeachment because they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. There's no, yeah, well, let's see. Let's read the rest of the tweet. At our Texas-Mexico border, Senator Mayorkas, Joe Biden continue to disregard our laws. They aren't. The well-being of immigrants, they're processing the immigrants. Remember kids in cages? Right, but he's got the question mark inside the quotation marks. So, kids in cages? Remember, kids in cages, it's just not right. All political nonsense. That's exactly what this is.
This new video of overcrowded conditions inside.
By the way, Governor Abbott said, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to arrest the immigrants ourselves and we're going to put them in jail. And the Supreme Court said, no, you're not. Supreme Court of Texas. That's illegal.
A Texas holding facility. Unclear if Mayorkas will visit this specific one. And it comes as Mayorkas plans, by the way, to meet with local officials later today in Brown.
I don't see any children there. If those people have come across the border without any children, Title 42 is in effect. They're going right back into Mexico. They don't even get shipped back to their home countries. They're just, you get back off the border, please. You're not coming in. We are closed. Despite what every member of the GOP keeps saying, America is not open for business right now. Well, okay, we're open for business, but we're not open for immigration.
Brownsville, where Laredo's mayor, Pete Sanz, says they will ask the secretary for a moratorium on migrant releases due to the COVID spike among released migrants. Brian Ainsley.
Hey, Griff, a lot of these guys and these women are on your speed dial at the border. Do they, where do they stand in terms of quitting or taking actions into their own hands? Because they know how to get control of that border, and they're not being allowed to. At what point do they start sounding off?
So Pete is saying, hey, you guys, you should circumvent the law, you Customs and Border Patrol folks. You need to take matters into your own hands. That's what he's saying.
Off, whether it's through whistleblower situations or they just put down the badge.
Well, that is a great question.
Or quit.
And I will confess, I have.
There's nothing to whistleblow, by the way. They're following the law. These are the laws of the United States. And those laws are being followed. Title 42, as long as the president keeps re-upping it, that is a law. It's an executive order, which is a law in the United States. That's the way the Constitution works. Actually, executive orders are kind of extra constitutionality. And that's
communicated directly with a lot of these chiefs, some of them retiring, like Austin Scarrow just retired from Del Rio, where I was in that river confronting that smuggler. They're at their wits' end. None of them want to quit. None of them want to put down the badge, but they know morale has never.
But he just retired. People are allowed to retire.
In their lifetime.
In some law enforcement agencies, there's mandatory retirement too. It's early retirement. With some exceptions, the FBI being one of them, executive officers, etc. You are forced to retire once you serve a certain amount of time as a federal officer.
I mean, their professional careers been this low, and I'll tell you a little number I'm watching, aside from the July numbers, just yesterday we see for the first time in over a month, the number of unaccompanied children in HHS custody, which they were touting a month ago, was getting lower, climbing above 16,000 for the first time yesterday. So conditions all across the board not getting better, and my hat's off.
That's good that the HHS has those kids, because that's where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be processed by CBP and then immediately handed over to the HHS or some other organization that can better care for minors, for children. That's a positive thing. That's way too many of them. But the government is not telling these kids to make that perilous journey by themselves. No one is saying that.
To the men and women who are staying in this fight, regardless of being short of manpower and the ability to do their job.
It's like they're running a nursery school.
Too.
Yeah, COVID is the problem.
Yeah.
Griff, thank you very much.
Thanks, Griff.
COVID is the problem.
Wait a second, because COVID doesn't affect kids. This is what you've been telling us now for more than a year. Chris Wilson says, Texas just passed their voters' rights bill. Voter rights bill or voter suppression bill?
Of Laredo, who he just mentioned, Pete Sands, he's going to speak to Mayorkas later today. And he said what's going on there right now is terrible, and everybody all across the country should know that the situation is so dire regarding COVID in Laredo. What they are doing is the city of Laredo is hiring 4 buses a day. They're totaling 200 migrants, and they're shipping them off to Austin and Houston. And none of the people are being tested for coronavirus. None of them. Apparently,
I don't know that that's accurate at all, because the CBP is handing the migrants off. The CBP doesn't typically test for coronavirus unless there's obvious symptoms. They're handing them off to the local health agencies and to the federal agencies, who then test them. I don't know about this. Let's see. I do not know about these migrants that are not being tested. If they aren't being tested, that is shocking, because they're all being tested. But let's just listen so we can see if we can figure out a little bit more here.
what they are doing is the city of Laredo is hiring 4
I want to know where you're getting that from.
today. And he said what's going on there.
The ability to do their job.
It's like they're running a nursery school.
Too.
Yeah, COVID is the problem.
Yeah.
Griff, thank you very much.
Thanks, Griff.
COVID is the problem. The mayor of Laredo, who he just mentioned, Pete Sands, he's going to speak to Mayorkas later today. And he said what's going on there right now is terrible, and everybody all across the country should know that the situation is so dire regarding COVID in Laredo. What they are doing is the city of Laredo is hiring 4 buses a day. They're totaling 200 migrants, and they're shipping them off to Austin and Houston. And none of the people are being tested for.
Okay, so here's this is an article from KXAN, which is a news channel. This is saying from McAllen, calling it a public health crisis, the mayor of Laredo told Border Report on Wednesday that his South Texas city is sending busloads of migrants to Austin and Houston without testing them for coronavirus. Laredo Mayor Pete Sands said the city is sending 4 charter buses per day with a total of 200 migrants who have been sent by Border Patrol from the Rio Grande Valley to Laredo. The migrants, mostly all families, have legally been released by federal authorities to travel in the United States. So they're asylum seekers. They're legal. The migrants are arriving at the Greyhound stations in Austin and Houston and provided with PPE and masks by Sands. But Sands said he is uncertain whether non-governmental agencies on the ground of this. He's not certain. He's uncertain whether non-governmental organizations on the ground in those cities are testing the migrants when they arrive. He doesn't know. He said that Laredo officials, however, are notifying emergency management coordinators in Austin and Houston that the buses are en route. The migrants aren't being tested. Border Patrol doesn't test them. We much less don't have an infrastructure of testing and quarantining. When you test them, if they're positive, then there's an obligation there or duty to quarantine, which is, those are the tents that we've seen set up that people are complaining about. Those are for quarantined immigrants, legal immigrants at that point, legal immigrant asylum seeking families that have tested positive. So he's uncertain. This is more of his quote. When you test them, if they're positive, and there's an obligation there or duty to quarantine, and that's expensive, and the NGOs don't really have the capacity here locally. But are they being tested? He's uncertain. City of Laredo filed a lawsuit in July against the Department of Homeland Security to stop the transfer of migrants, citing an increase in the migrants with coronavirus being sent to the region. How would you know that if you're not testing? The city also issued a disaster declaration to prevent migrants from the RGV, Rio Grande Valley, from entering the Laredo region. But nonetheless, the buses still kept coming. Okay. Initially, the city was sending the migrants to Dallas, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then there's a tweet from the city of Laredo, and they have a listing of active cases. Tests administered. This is on August 9th. Tests administered, 376,000 tests administered to people that aren't being tested. Okay, so the city of Laredo apparently is no longer testing. They did their 300,000+ tests, and now they're no longer testing. I don't know if that is just for immigrants. This tweet, the city of Laredo coronavirus tweet. Hold on, let's go and see the actual numbers from the city of Laredo. That might not be just for immigrants. That might be for everybody. Let's pull up the coronavirus chart and see what it says. But again, in the article, the mayor says he's uncertain if they're being tested. But on Fox News, that just means, oh, they're not testing them. We don't know. Okay, here we go. COVID-19 community risk. They're at the highest risk. COVID-19 timeline, implementation plan, vaccines, local testing sites. Okay, here we go. Here's their dashboard. So they're 371,000. That's for everyone. That's not just migrants. That's everyone who's been tested anywhere in the city of Laredo. That's the same number, 371,355. Slightly bigger than this number. So they are continuing to test since this tweet, which was August 9th. It's now the 12th. So as of yesterday, they had tested 1,000 more people, which, by the way, is more than 4 busloads of humans. Substantially more than 4 busloads of humans. Marcy's telling me to look at my DMs. I'll do that on another screen. I almost have 3 monitors today. I had 3 monitors for a moment.
Coronavirus. None of them. Apparently when they arrive in...
No, he just said he's uncertain.
Houston and Austin, they're given PPE and masks, but uncertain if anybody is actually being...
Okay, uncertain. He just said it. Is it just me, guys? Is it just me that sees the framing?
Tested at the receiving end. Otherwise, they're just released into the area. And the reason Laredo's interested in it is because their hospitals are pretty much maxed out. And if there's a coronavirus problem, that is why the city of Laredo is spending between $8,000 and $10,000.
Right, but even areas in Texas where migrants are not being released or sent, even those areas are maxing out their hospitals because Texas is a red zone.
$1,000 a day.
By the way, Texas does not share their information with the CDC. They're the one state, because they've got their own energy grid, that isn't a grid because it's just one state. They're the one place that is not sharing the information with the CDC. So we're not really sure what's happening in Texas. Just what Texas tells us is happening. And they're uncertain.
Get the migrants out of their
They
town.
come through the Rio Grande Valley sector. That's the epicenter of this issue. And then they go to Laredo, and he says, we can't handle it. Our hospitals can't handle it. That's why he's filed a lawsuit. That's also why he's declared a disaster. And so he's saying, I'm going to pay the money to ship them to Austin and to Houston because they have to share in this responsibility. And he says this is a compromise because I just can't take care of all of these. Look at this. They're packed in.
Article from the Dallas News sent to us by Marcy. Thank you very much. This is the Dallas Morning News. Are migrants fueling the COVID-19 surge? No, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And this is news. This is not an opinion piece by Diane Solis and Allie Morris. That sort of rhymes. Are migrants, Dr. Yvonne Melendez, the chief medical advisor of Hidalgo County Medical Authority. That's where McAllen is. That's the county right on the border where the vast majority of immigrants the highest percentage of immigrants are coming across the border. No. Is this the pandemic of the migrants? No, said Dr. Melendez. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And remember, if they're testing positive, after they're released by the CBP, they're tested. If they're tested positive, they go to a tent city or other facility where they can be quarantined until they test negative. That's happening. Let's see. About 210,000 is the estimated number. Do all migrants get tested at the U.S. border? No, there is little testing for migrants expelled quickly under Title 42. So if you're sent right back into Mexico, they don't test them. Waste of resources. We're closed. You're out of here. Goodbye. They make up the bulk of the migrants crossing into the country. That's what I just said. They're crossing at the border, they're apprehended, and they're sent right back to Mexico because we're closed. About 6 out of the 10 immigrants in June were expelled under the Trump-era policy enacted to reduce the spread of coronavirus. This is what I've said. For the fiscal year, about 7 out of 10 immigrants. So 70% of the immigrants who've tried to come across the border immediately sent back. Only families applying for asylum or kids by themselves, they're allowed into the country. Does the Border Patrol do any testing? The Border Patrol does not do testing, a spokesman said. That is, unless they do some testing. And that's where the 900% increase in COVID positive cases comes from. Because when it's a very obvious symptomatic case, they will administer a test. They're released. The moment they're taken into custody, migrants are required to keep masks on at all times, including when they are transferred or in the process of being released. If anyone exhibits signs of illness in CBP custody, they are referred to local health systems for appropriate testing, diagnosis, and treatment. Does Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE do testing? Yes, they are not expelled under Title 42. Those not expelled under Title 42 who are transferred to the custody of ICE for processing are tested for COVID-19 and separated according to results. All of it. Who tests the unaccompanied minors? Children are tested at the border and then every 3 days. So it's not just one test. Every 3 days, a spokesman for the U.S. Health and Human Services said, HHS. The children are generally supposed to be transferred within 72 hours, if they can be, from Border Patrol custody to HHS. And that is happening at a much higher rate than originally when Biden took office. The system just wasn't set up properly. So now the vast majority of the children are being sent from CBP, processed within 72 hours, and handed over to HHS, who then takes care of their needs as children. Those that test positive are quarantined and isolated. Go back to Fox. They're going to tell us that we're outraged by all of this because it's not happening.
No masks.
Nope.
Do you remember there was one still picture, 2 or 3 still pictures, and caused chaos, 24-hour coverage about the Trump administration?
I see all kinds of masks. Here is a mask. Here is a mask. Here is a mask. She's not wearing one. Imagine people not wearing masks. Can you imagine if Americans just decided they're not going to wear masks? You would end up with people catching the coronavirus here in the United States. And as we all know, that's not happening. By the way, YouTube, in case you're watching, in case I'm being surveyed right now, you want to thinking about remonetizing me, that's sarcasm, okay? The United States is the epicenter of the COVID virus, okay? Because people are refusing to wear masks and not getting vaccinated. So just in case, YouTube, you're thinking about remonetizing me, I'm not actually saying that there's no spread of coronavirus in the U.S.
Inhumane, caring
cages.
for illegal immigrants. Tell me how.
Oh, those are glasses. Someone's glasses are on the shelf here. I assume it's hers. I don't know.
Humane and safe.
I don't know why you've got this blur when we can see faces. I'm not sure why the blur is there.
That is. Meanwhile, Julio Rosas has been at the border. He's with Town Hall.
Also, that blur is preventing us from seeing a lot of masks.
Always appears on our station too, and he sees it what it's like being a Border Patrol agent and how bad it is.
It's really quite, mind-boggling to see the Biden administration.
Okay, now the blur is gone. The big circle blur is gone. They're just blurring individual faces. There's another mask. Did we see her already?
Having the cojones to try to claim that they're making substantial progress at this challenge, as they like to call it, at the border, when really, it's just not true. I've been down to the border multiple times this year, and things have gotten worse.
Okay, but he's been to the border. Is he not working at the border?
And really, they're gaslighting the American public by trying to claim that things are being overblown or, they're making progress, because it's simply not true. And I've stand on the Rio Grande for hours just watching it happen. And,
you know what you really need? You know when you really need the circle blur? When you're showing bunk logs.
Border's not closed, and it's open, and it's open for business.
And he says he's getting...
It's not. It's not open. We have the stats. What you're seeing there are a whole bunch of people who are being detained and processed. Otherwise, they'd be getting on buses, getting out of there. No kids, go on, go into the country.
Video from Border Patrol agents who want the American public to see what's happening.
Well,
the good news is his approval ratings are below 40, in the 30s now, because he's done such a horrendous...
That's fantastic news. The American president has lost the confidence of the American people. That's the good news.
Job, the president.
So whoever shot that video, the source of that video, says we are way past capacity. It's a nightmare. People want to go to the bathroom. They need to eat. Women need to breastfeed, and the list goes on. This has surpassed the point of sustainability. This is lunacy.
Well, Mayorkas is going to be down there today to see it with his own 2 eyes. Of course, last time he was there, he said the strategy is working.
Don't worry, the vice president's in charge. It's going well. It's going to take a little while for it to kick in.
And you know what? Speaking of polls, her unfavorables are going up.
What a shock. I don't think she's done anything well.
Well, anyway, we're going to talk more about the Fox polls coming up, and you're very concerned with inflation, plus refund the police. Chicago's Democratic mayor now planning apparently to boost the budget, didn't say how much, after that officer was killed, and the city struggles to clamp down on gun violence.
Plus, the search is over for the next host of Jeopardy. Find out who's going to take over the iconic role made famous by that man right there, Alex Trebek.
Okay. And we got Kristi Noem's coming on. We got and Laura Trump. Hold on. I was gonna sign off because we've been broadcasting for 2 hours already. Let's see what Kristi Noem has to say. She is the head honcho there in South Dakota. where they've got Sturgis going on. I don't even know if Sturgis is still going on. And of course, last year, Sturgis could be directly traced to about 700 COVID deaths. We'll see how many are going on this year. I'm just searching here for Kristi Noem. Tom Cotton's an idiot. We're not going to listen to him. Okay, Olympics, something else. Where's Kristi Noem? Are they going to? Usually they bring her on, like the important guests come on in about the third hour, towards the beginning of the third hour. So we'll see how important they think she is. Of course, she's also like on Central or Mountain Time or whatever. I'm not sure they have time zones. And so see, people on Fox, the reporters are either standing at the border in a bush, or they're apparently now standing in Iowa in a bush, in a corn crop. Oh, here we go. I see they're always doing the Mount Rushmore thing. By the way, that's a green screen. She's not actually at Mount Rushmore. It could just be a photo. Here we go. Or not.
Besides what you guys have been talking
about. Ready. Let's
East migrants. Steve Ainsley, Brian.
A lot going on.
You would think that would affect the COVID-19 numbers, especially in Texas, but no one's really put two and two together. Griff, thanks so much.
I have, but hold on. Let's go back and see what 2 and 2 they think have not been put together here. I think it's just more of the same. We're now in the third hour. They just repeat the hours, but that's how news works. That's not something they should be blamed for. Because people watch for a few minutes and then they go do their business and then they come back and watch a little bit more.
Americans disapprove of the president's handling on immigration, with only 35% approving. And guys, as Mayorkas will meet with local officials today, we were told Laredo's mayor, Pete Sanz, says they will ask the secretary for an official moratorium on migrant releases due to the COVID spike on the border and the released migrants. Steve Ainsley, Brian.
A lot going on.
You would think that would affect the COVID-19 numbers, especially in Texas, but no one's really put two and two together. Griff, thanks so much.
Yeah, Mayorkas says he wants a safe, orderly, humane immigration system. Why don't we have that already? Let's bring in South Dakota's Governor Kristi Noem to talk about the border. Good morning to you, Governor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, thanks for coming on. Beautiful backdrop there of Mount Rushmore. I know that I know you went down to the border recently. You're sending your National Guard out to help impacted states, and you called this border crisis a human tragedy. Why?
It is. I went down there to visit my National Guard. I sent about 48 soldiers down there 30 days ago. We just extended that another 30 days. They are in the most critical part of the southern border where we see a lot of
away from their families,
trafficking of humans and a lot of trafficking of drugs crossing that's impacting our state and the entire Midwest and country, besides what you guys have been talking about all morning, and that's the illegal aliens that are coming over that border by the tens of thousands. So my guard was...
Right, and being immediately turned around, 70% of them so far this year, turned around and sent back. By the way, the numbers through June under Biden of total people who crossed the border, this doesn't count anybody being sent back or whatever. Total people crossing the border and apprehended at the border. Not apprehensions, but the people. Lower than Trump's numbers in 2019.
Perfectly suited for this mission. They also work very well with the Texas National Guard and local Border Patrol, but they're alarmed as well as I am by what's happening down there and how this facilitation of in-migration is happening by the White House.
Sure.
You would call
of in-migration? Immigration? What is she saying?
Suited for this mission. They also work very well with the Texas National Guard and local Border Patrol, but they're alarmed as well as I am by what's happening down there and how this facilitation of in-migration is happening by the White House.
Is in-migration a thing? Is that just something I'm unfamiliar with? It could be. I don't know. It might be a technical term, but I don't. Why would you say in-migration when you already have immigration? Well, is it just some weird South Dakota accent? Is that what? Is in-migration a thing? Is what I'm asking. Because sometimes somebody will say something and like, that's not a word, and it is. I don't know all the words.
Sure.
You were called out by Dr. Anthony Fauci because Sturgis is evidently something he wasn't invited to. It's a problematic. Even outdoors on a motorcycle, you would.
Sturgis is not all outdoors. They spend a lot of time inside at the businesses, drinking, etc., spreading COVID.
Think would be one of the safest places to be. Listen to what he said about one of
Safest places to be in a large crowd with the Delta variant. Brian has not researched how the Delta variant works at all. I've listened to his radio podcast. It's all nonsense.
the most important
Yeah, Chris Wilson has a good point. Megan Fox's mom is not a nice person.
events in your state.
I think, though, Chris, that she's not actually Megan Fox's mom. She's Megan Fox's grandmother. You take a close look.
It's understandable that people want to do the kinds of things they want to do. They want their freedom to do that. But there comes a time when you're dealing with a public health crisis that could involve you, your family, and everyone else, that something supersedes that need to do exactly what you want to do.
The needs of the many.
Governor?
It's shocking to me that he continues to pick on Republican governors, people who love their freedoms, and he ignores what's happening at the border. I didn't hear him criticize President Obama for having a party for his birthday. I didn't hear him go after
Everybody was vaccinated.
The other concerts that have been happening in this country, or the complete.
He has. She's not listening. She obviously does not tune into the Dr. Fauci press conference. He's been saying over and over again, these are not a good idea.
Ignoring of our federal law.
Okay, so you're going to do a very bad thing because other people are doing bad things? That's a 5-year-old justification.
Caused by this open border policy that President Biden
There is no open border policy. We've been discussing that for the last half hour.
Has embraced. Dr. Fauci's become political, and I think it's unfortunate because there's going to be a point in time again here where we're really going to need our public health officials and know we can trust them. And he has discredited his entire profession by the positions that he's taken during this pandemic.
Sure. And, you know,
except that he's not taking political positions. You're making this political. Miss Governor of South Dakota, who has the third most cases per capita in the entire country. You know who's second? The other Dakota. Is it West Dakota? I don't know. I'm not good with geography. One of the Dakotas. One of the many Dakotas. Could be West, could be East. I think Northwest Dakota actually is first. This is all very complicated.
It is curious. There does seem to be a double standard. You're absolutely right. He talks about Sturgis. He does not talk about the former president's big party or Lollapalooza.
I don't know specifically if he's addressed Obama's party. There is no log that I know of that records every single word that Fauci says. If somebody knows if he's criticized the party, let me know. Or if someone has him saying Obama's party, they were all vaccinated. The tent is technically outside because it's open air. There's high airflow through there. I don't know. But by the way, Obama's a wealthy individual. I know from being around wealthy individuals that they will test you. If you want to get on a private jet with somebody, having known people who've done that recently, you are tested. There are rapid tests available. I know people who aren't that wealthy that you can just go ahead and order a test. They're about $11. You can order yourself a rapid test. I think they're 2 for $24 actually, so that's $12. That you can take right at home and test yourself. We're at that stage now, even though we were promised back in September, first off in May and then finally September. Yeah, it's just going to be a swab in your mouth and then you're going to know like in 15 minutes. You're going to spit on a piece of cardboard. You're going to know. Anyway, we're there. It's going to cost you like apparently $24 for 2 of them. But those exist. So if you want to be at a private party, here you go. Use that and come out of your car. We'll valet you. The valet will administer your test for you.
Chicago being potential super spreader events. And he doesn't talk about what is going on the southern border because you look at the facts and apparently
we have looked at the facts and they are being tested.
A week ago today, Joe Biden got a briefing from his Department of Homeland Security and was told that about a quarter of the people coming into the country illegally have COVID. They don't test everybody, but the ones they test, a quarter have COVID, which is unbelievable. And
that would be only the symptomatic ones that they're testing, and a quarter of them have COVID. But we don't know those stats are accurate at all. I mean, that's not what we saw. That being said, Steve, you're not telling us the whole truth. And you should know the whole truth by now. I just found it.
Yesterday, the mayor of Laredo, Texas, said that every day, because there's so many people.
Is he going to say uncertain? Are you going to use the word uncertain? Because we just talked about this. I know it's 2 hours ago for you, but we did talk about this.
Coming into their town, they've got to spend $10,000 a day to bust them out, and nobody is tested. So people are leaving.
Not what he said, and not what you said 2 hours ago, Steve. You said the word he's uncertain 2 hours ago. Are you going to say that, or has it just evolved in the space of 2 hours into a complete lie?
Laredo, Texas. We don't know if they've got COVID, and then they go to Austin and Houston, and some probably wind.
There it is. We just saw the formation of a lie. It's about a 2 hour window for Steve Doocy. Steve, last time you read this, at least you used the word uncertain after you framed it as nobody's getting tested. The mayor says nobody's getting tested. No, the mayor says he's uncertain if anyone's getting tested. You've gone from that, somebody doesn't know something, to, oh, nobody's getting tested. And that is how a lie propagates. Steve Doocy. Really, Steve, you're better than this. Every once in a while, Steve Doocy is the sane one on the panel.
Up in South Dakota.
Steve, when I was down there, I was just down there for one day.
Oh, well, great. She sent like, what, 43 of her National Guardsmen away from their families, and she's just extended that. So they're down there for months. She goes down for a day. So less than a day, really. She probably flew in and flew out. I don't know. I am uncertain exactly how long she was down there. She may have stayed overnight. I don't know.
We got a phone call. I was with the Border Patrol and my National Guard. They got a phone call from a local sheriff that said, hey, I've got 50 COVID positive illegal aliens here.
Hold on. They're not testing anyone. How do they know that they're COVID positive?
I'm holding at a local baseball field. What can I do with them? Yeah. Border Patrol said, I don't know what to do with them. And they said, I don't know what to do. We don't have any space. We're full. A nonprofit that usually takes these individuals didn't want to take them because they were all COVID positive. And that was literally the discussion.
The nonprofits are part of the group that's doing the quarantining. They might have been full, which is why we're seeing these tents built that everybody is so up in arms about. But yeah, you got to quarantine the patients. They're doing the right thing. You got a phone call from people trying to do the right thing.
That our Border Patrol officers were having with local law enforcement there, as in they've got this crisis created by somebody who's thousands of miles away in Washington, D.C., and every day their life is hell. Their life is hell because they're trying to make the right decisions, and they're not giving the authorities.
Right. They're doing the right thing. They're trying to find space for the people that have tested positive. You know, the tests that aren't happening.
To go forward and to really deal with it and do the right thing. So this is a tragedy. It's a public health crisis. It's a national security crisis.
Oh, it's a public health crisis? A public health crisis coming from you, Kristi Noem, who allows Sturgis to continue, who doesn't have any mask mandate in your entire state, who has the third highest out of 50 states cases per capita? You're going to tell us about what a public health crisis is. Got it.
What this White House is doing is they're trying to destroy America by ignoring our laws. And we know if we're a nation without laws, a nation without a border.
That is not what's happening. No one is trying to destroy America.
That we're no nation at all. And so it's alarming to me.
We are a nation. I promise you, we are still a nation. Go down to the border, try and cross and come back without using some sort of ID. But yeah, I guarantee you, we are a nation. Try getting into Canada and coming back.
We should be talking about it, and the hypocrisy of how they go after, and Dr. Fauci goes after certain individuals and not others. It's wrong, and the American people need to wake up.
He's not going after certain individuals. He's talking about events in general. He hasn't named anybody and said, hey, this guy, Bob, who's at Sturgis, he's a bad character.
Now, let's just see if he comments, because they're supposed to have this big concert in Central Park in New York City.
Right.
I don't know if he wants to be critical or not, but I'd love to see him take that on. Because he's.
Are they doing that indoors, Brian? Because you just said that it's super safe being outdoors. That Sturgis is one of the most safest places in the country. So are we doing the concert out? Is it an indoor concert? Because then you've got beef.
He seems to like riots and demonstrations.
Well, the motorcycle bike rally is going great. We're going to have up to about 1 million people here in South Dakota. We always love
Okay, so apparently it's still going on.
it when people come and see us in our beautiful country. And all these folks, they're patriots. They love this country.
And patrons of those local businesses, which is good for business, not when they have COVID.
They love the fact that they can take some personal responsibility and go spend some time with people that they love. And so I enjoyed going on a motorcycle ride with them and spending time with them, having charity auctions we participated in. It's been a good week.
Wait, hold on. That looks like it's inside somewhere. I thought this was the safest place to be because they're all outside. By the way, those moves.
And you allow lemonade stands there. The kid who's
We
become
do.
famous for serving the bikers lemonade.
I went to see Wyatt and his family, and they are, it's, you know, I was standing there, there's lines and lines
of type moves.
charity auctions we participated in. It's been a good week.
And you allow lemonade stands there. The kid who's become famous for serving the bikers lemonade.
That is in the One-Eyed Jack Saloon, apparently, and that is indoors.
I went to see Wyatt and his family, and they are, it's, you know, I was standing there, there's lines and lines of people waiting to donate to St. Jude's that this little boy had organized. He already had a dirt bike donated to him, but they are lining up, and these folks are getting off their motorcycles, handing him $100, giving him a hug, and thanking him for thinking of other people and for raising money for other people. And so these people have big hearts and are there supporting a young man who's doing the right thing.
Let's talk, Governor, about a young woman by the name.
Let's talk about your case rate in South Dakota being the third highest out of 50 states.
Name of Tamyra Mensah-Stock, Team USA wrestler. She won the gold. She said this about a week ago. She said, "I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent."
She lives in South Dakota?
Then USA. She was on with Sean last night and said this. Watch.
My mom raised us to be respectful, and my dad was an immigrant, and he came from Ghana. He came to America, and he made a way for himself. Like he had a whole bunch of businesses, and like he made nothing out of something, or he made something out of nothing. Okay. And I just know that if you go out and get what you want, nothing can stop you. So I guess like just from those kind of parents in my life, I just have love for my country.
She has love for her country, and unfortunately, she's the exception. We didn't really hear that many U.S.
She is not the exception. The exceptions were the few athletes who knelt or didn't stand for the flag or whatever. But the vast majority, 90%, I don't know. There's no stats on it. Most of the Olympic athletes stood for the flag and put their hand on the heart and whatever it took during the national anthems.
Athletes say, "I love America."
Well, here's the difference, Steve, that you're talking about, is the fact that, you know, she loves her country. She was raised with character, integrity. She has gifts and talents.
And does she live in South Dakota? No, I don't think she does. I mean, the odds are 2% that she does, but I don't know.
She talked about her family, and that's the conversation we need to start having in this country, is strong families. That parents need to be parents. They need to spend time with their kids. If you're having problems with your children, spend time with them. Make them be with you. That's the people that have time with our children are the ones that influence them. And so we have to start talking.
Just why hasn't anyone ever said this before in the history of mankind?
About the problems in this country stem from families that are struggling. And
no, hold on a second there. You can't say that the problems in this country stem from the families not spending time together when you've just clearly pointed out that the country's been destroyed because of immigration. That's where the problems are. Remember the open border policies where we're rejecting everyone?
we need to start building into them to create a stronger environment at home. So
those are just, those cheekbones on her are just completely natural.
These kids can be more successful in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, Governor Walker Hayes has a song out called Fancy Like, and all the kids are learning this dance now and posting
Why is she laughing, I wonder?
Because we know that you did this. Tell us the story about this video that we're watching.
Okay, so this is on Twitter. Kristi Noem's Twitter. Apparently, they're doing a song called "The Fancy Like." So, and we're going to be subjected to it now. And I don't know if we can actually do much of it because I don't want to get a copyright strike. So let's maybe we'll turn the volume off. I'm ready to go. Here we go.
Oh, we had about a half hour when we were at our cabin in the Black Hills for a little bit, and I said,
"Okay, we'll watch the dance here," and but we can't listen to it, unfortunately. So there's some white people, and they're moving back and forth, and there's one guy who's into it. This guy's pretty swinging. And, okay, well, I guess we probably still have music. Let me just check.
And are you thinking, you know, my wife and I watch the reels all the time because it's just a nice distraction. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are you planning your next dance move?
you know, I could. I guess we'll see how America reacts. That was not very impressive, but I can keep practicing. We'll see how much free time I get.
Okay, so she's got a sense of modesty. That's good. And that's fun. You know, dancing and fun and being on the TikToks and the Twitters. It's good. Fine.
There you go. All right. Governor, thank you very much.
Well, at least they're not asking her what her favorite flavor of ice cream is. I say favor, flavor, flavored, I'm done. Okay, kids, I'm out of words. That's it. That's my sign. I'm going to go start the day and do some stuff that's productive. Thanks for watching. Yeah, that's 2.5 hours now almost of broadcasting. Guys, it is my birthday eve. So tomorrow's my birthday, and for my birthday, I have to spend time with my daughter. So no movie tomorrow night, no movie this weekend. Sorry, family. I wasn't going to, and then I saw the great Governor Kristi Noem saying you should spend time with your family, with your kids. So now I feel obligated on my birthday to spend time with people. So probably, I don't even know if I'm going to get a chance to broadcast this weekend. I hope so. Maybe Sunday morning when no one's bothering me. And we'll go from there. And we'll see you. If I don't see you, I should be able to broadcast during the day tomorrow. I think I can. I don't know. We'll find out. I probably can because if I'm remembering correctly or if I know correctly, which I seldom do, my daughter will be working tomorrow. And then I'm supposed to have dinner or something with her afterwards and watch a movie. We should just do a Zoom movie and not tell her. So it's like, Dad, why are we watching the movie on your computer? No reason. I have a 55-inch TV. I don't care. Guys, be good to yourself. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes. Thank you very much for the birthday mug from Marcy. And everybody else, have yourself a wonderful day. If I don't talk to you, have yourself a wonderful weekend. Should we just, you know what, before we go, it's now 10 o'clock in the morning here. Let's just check in on the Mike Lindell and see if the news has broken yet. He's not up there, but let's just see who these people are. I already turned my volume off, but I'll do this.
A fraud that was present in the election made sure that these candidates that were selected were secured a victory.
Here's another thing, so that Minion voting systems is never going to sue anybody for talking about.
Minion voting systems? That's what it's Dominion.
All you want about it. Some voting systems in the United States, the companies will sue you if you say their company name and say there might be a problem. You can literally read their manuals out loud and describe what their manuals say. You can show screens that show they have components in them that they have told us they don't have, settings they don't have, and you'll get sued. But Minion voting systems that we put...
Well, if they do sue you for that, you will win. And you can countersue and become rich. So I really doubt that that's the case.
Because we are proud that our system is open to you.
Do you have a question, sir?
No. I've been saying all day today that I need someone to sleep with me. Sorry, I should clarify. I need someone to stay awake while I sleep, to keep me from lying on my right side, which is, it looks like maybe you're seeing that on my left side. Is my image reversed? This is my right hand. No, that's correct. I need someone to not sleep with me. So desperately in need just to keep me from pain. So we learned about spunk logs today, and I think that's important. So take the knowledge of spunk logs with you throughout your day, and try and spread those spunk logs with your fellow man, so that they also become knowledgeable to the fraud that made sure that I just have to listen to more. This is just too much entertainment.
A system kind of like our standardized tests we take in school, where you fill in the bubble and it's counted by a tabulator that's not connected to
So the problem is teaching kids to do standardized tests where you fill in a bubble. That's the problem with the voting.
Leaders could just be counters on.
I'm not a big cake fan. I have nothing against the Germans. Andy might be in the room. I saw him there earlier. I love me some German food. So I don't know why it's called German chocolate cake. The same as Canada geese are called Canada geese, but they're not Canadian. They're not owned by Canada. They're just called Canada geese. By the way, calling them Canadian geese, that's wrong. Don't do that. They are not Canadian geese. They're called Canada geese. It's just a noun, but it's not possessive. So, that's something else we learned today. We learned about Canada geese not being Canadian geese, and we learned about spunk logs. So I think really that's too much learning. Here's the thing. Since you might not see me tomorrow on my birthday, I want you to save that knowledge of Canada geese. Learn that tomorrow. So just put that into your learning reservoir, and then tomorrow will absorb it. Okay? Write it down so that you don't have to remember it and learn it today. Write it down. Canada geese, not Canadian geese, and then you're good on that. Is carrot cake still cake? No, but carrot cake is one of the cakes that I actually love. I totally will do a carrot cake. Eve says, "Hey, I could make a carrot cake, or wait, don't have cream cheese." Oh, here's the key to the carrot cake. It's got to have the cream cheese icing. Then it's really, really good. But carrot cake seems to me to be somewhat healthy, right? Like carrot cake is good for your eyesight. It's got to be. Carrots are so good for your eyes. I don't eat a lot of carrots. I used to eat carrots as a kid because I wanted my eyes to be, and now I need readers. True, judges agree. Hummingbird cake is amazing. Yeah, I've only eaten hummingbirds raw, so I don't know, but it sounds good. Sounds good. All right, guys, I'm going to start my day. I'm going to start my birthday weekend early because it's my birthday eve. My birthday officially is tomorrow, and I'm hoping to see you tomorrow. That would be a good birthday present for me. Apart from what's going on here at the Cyber Symposium, it's going to be over for my birthday. But the good news is, for my birthday, Donald Trump is going to be reinstated. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll cover that. I imagine he's going to be sworn in on a Bible again. So what we'll do is, I don't know. Have yourself a great weekend if I don't talk to you. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Most importantly, and this has never been more paramount to the survival of the species, be good to me.